click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 124. And we're delighted to be joined by Stephen Bradley, who's currently a technician for John McPhee in the Moto3 World Championship for the Sepang racing team. Is that what it goes by?
No, Petronas Sprinter.
Oh, I knew I would get something wrong. Petronas Sprinter. But how are we doing?
Oh, good. Yeah, thank you.
I was about to say, hold on, you're trying to stay awake. Like, I had a very, very brief... I'm late, classic Dominic, as normal, and turned up and you were like, jet lag. I keep saying that wrong. Jet lag.
Jet lag.
So you've just come back from... Where have you come back from?
Austin, Texas, yeah.
My God, and explain the travel, like the travel you've just gone through.
It's on the way back, it was obviously a reverse of going there. So on the way back, we left Austin, Texas airport just after lunch on Monday. Flew to Dallas, and then I think that was quite a quick connection in Dallas, and then from Dallas to Heathrow, which was the long leg, but it was a little bit shorter on the way coming back than going out.
That's bad. And what's things like over in that part of America now in terms of like the restrictions and the COVID stuff? It's
in Texas or Austin. I think it's pretty much the same as here. There's no mask mandate or anything like that.
It's pretty chilled.
Yeah,
I think they're pretty known for that, aren't they? Them Texans, pretty laid back.
They are, but from what I gather, the little area of Austin was one of the last areas of Texas to kind of get rid of the mask mandate.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, they're obviously still the people that wear them out there. And
is Austin the biggest city in Texas?
It could be.
Well, it's like a main...
Yeah, it's one of them. Dallas, Austin, yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say, with your job, do you actually get to do much venturing, really? Because obviously it'll be just land, track, work, get back, go.
Yeah, this year we actually, because we missed Austin last year, and it's one of our favourite places to go on the calendar. This year we went out a day early, just so we could
shoot some guns,
just relax a little bit and just do the Austin thing, before we kind of... plus get over the jet lag on the way out there, so we were fresh for the...
Do you land and buy yourself a big Texas hat, a couple of guns and a big 4x4
They give
truck?
you them every time you land. Just as you come through, get your bags, get a hat, get a gun. They just hand them out, yeah.
It's free gun license every time you land.
Yeah, just go for it. Yeah.
If I could do a GP, I would love to go over for the racing, but also I think I would just love to have a little look around Texas.
Have you ever been to America?
No, and it's been on my bucket list for ages now to go over the Texas Tornado Boot Camp.
Yeah, I did that 2 years ago. I did that.
Who did you go with?
I went with John and Ayumu.
Cool.
Because it was after the Argentinian round, so we flew there straight from there, and we did the boot camp for a few days, and we rode the bikes, we shot the guns, did all that kind of thing, the big barbecue, all that, and it was just amazing. If you can do it, I'd advise it. It's amazing.
I was about to say, does it live up to the hype?
Yeah, it's really incredible. Yeah.
They do the racer camp, so the normal thing I think is 4 days, for the Joe public, but they do a racer camp. I think it's in March, which is 6 or 7 days, and it's a few Lundy's done it a few times, and loads of the BSB lads end up going over there, and it just sounds like such a session, and I think it's just like guns, barbecues, raced bikes all day.
We were at the racer camp one because it was just before the Texas kind of round of GP, so we went there and did that, and you've got all the events that they put on the tracks, and then in the evenings, when it's all done, if you still want to go out there and ride the bikes around, get some practice, you can, and just do some laps.
Colin's been to the North Yorkshire a few times, and he's just such a cool, laid back bloke. Even just to sort of spend a bit of time with him, I bet it's cool. His son's doing really well at the moment with, is it Supercross or Motocross?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
He's gone down that route of it.
Yeah, what's his son called again?
I don't know. Can't remember.
Junior.
Is it Jade? Jaden or something like that? No, it wouldn't be Jaden Hayden. Jaden
Edwards. No, I can't remember.
There'll be a quiz at the end of this.
I do hear he's pretty handy on a motocross bike.
Yeah.
Is that how Colin started?
I'm not sure. They all do flat track and stuff over in America, don't they?
Yeah.
But
right.
Speaking of the Austin GP, anyway, for yourself, it was back on the podium for John.
Yeah.
It's been a while since a good result.
Last year, I think, last time I got on the podium. Yeah.
I bet. I bet there was a good sort of buzz in the team after the weekend.
It was good because for all three classes that we're racing in the team, we scored points. Every rider scored points, which is the first time we've done that since sometime last year as well. So all classes, all 6 riders, all scored points. So that was good. But yeah, for us on John's side of the team, it was positive because he came out Sunday really fighting, topped morning warm-up. The setting that we had for the race worked really well for the race, and he was fighting, he was really good. And Darren was up there as well. I think when the second part of the race got stopped, they were 1-2 at the time, I think, or 1-2 or 1-3 at the time. So when it got stopped, we were kind of hoping that it was going to be a double podium. But
I tell like, that's the only part of the racing I've watched this entire weekend, is that my dad actually dragged me round to the house and said, look, son, you've got to watch this Moto3 race. And he just sat there and went, right, I want to get your opinion on how this goes. So fair enough. Huge incident. Let's talk about that incident. We were talking about that in the last episode and how smaller classes are getting so much closer. Yeah. Moto3 is by far being the most entertaining racing going. And that is my opinion. It's always been close, but you're talking about, quite frankly, the best in the world in that class doing that. But am I correct in saying, I can't remember, number 52, was it?
53, Onku, Dennis Onku.
Onku. Now, he just literally, he was offline and then he just recorrected himself without remotely checking. And he just took the front wheel out and the bike just went down. And then, was it 2 or 3 lads ski jumped the bike?
2 more. I think it was behind him. Andrea Mino had nowhere to go. So you see his bike go first. And obviously this was halfway down the fastest straight on the track and bang, straight up. And then I think when his bike went down, I think the next guy along was Pedro Acosta. Boom, he hit it and went as well.
It's terrifying to see. And the air that, especially Acosta got, is, I mean, God, imagine.
However, no one got hurt. Well, am I wrong in that?
No, nothing. No, seriously, they all got up and walked away.
Everyone was up and fine. Like, we're not. They were up and going back to
maybe
the crew
a few
tubes.
Bumps and bruises, obviously, but yeah.
Now, what sort of speed is
down there? I should imagine at that point about 140, 150 mile an hour, maybe.
And that, bearing in mind, they weren't long out the corner. When you think the momentum gathered in that short space of time. But
what was your take on that?
Yeah,
I agree completely with the ruling that. Obviously, Onku's been suspended now for 2 races because of that.
Good.
And I think it was really serious what he did, the way he moved across. But it wasn't just him as well. It was, if you see some onboard footage from Massia's bike as well, looking back, there's another rider, Jeremy Alcoba, who did something very similar. You can see him coming towards the back of Massia's bike and then just swing straight across to the other side of the track and barely miss another rider. And it's just... this kind of stuff is incredible.
Like, you just can't. There is literally no, because talk me through the Moto3 ruling. So are you all on the same tyre, controlled tyre series? I know that much.
Yeah, you get obviously you get an option of the compound. Yes. Everyone's on the Dunlop tyre, but you get an option of the compound if you want to run a soft or a hard or medium, whatever. So
yeah.
But engine wise, for the Hondas, all the engines are the same. For the KTM, Husqvarna, all the engines are the same for them. It's basically the same bike. So
right. So is that power? Is that like restricted on brake horsepower? Because the class is so unbelievably equal. Yeah. Like compare it against MotoGP. I know that's like the premier class, but when you see that Ducati line up, it's borderline embarrassing in the straight line.
The Moto3, I think the rules make it so it's a lot closer racing in that respect.
It's almost, for years everyone's wanted closer racing and more in terms of the entertainment side and also in terms of the fairness side, that like it's not just like 3 bikes on the grid capable of winning. So the rules have been adapted over the last few years, making it closer and closer and closer. But as a byproduct of that, and I think Whittam was talking about this the other day at that show, having so many bikes so close together, there's an unwanted side product that it makes it really dangerous, because when you've got groups of 10, 12 bikes all together, all pretty much exactly the same pace, people then resort to dangerous tactics, dangerous maneuvers. I was watching the junior supersport race. I know that's in World Superbikes, but the 300s or 400s or whatever they are, and at Portimao the other day, and nobody wanted to lead onto the straight, and it was absolutely ridiculous in terms of the danger. The leader would get to the third last corner, that right-hander, and then basically just stop on the racing line and just back everyone up. But then obviously, because the next person doesn't want to lead, and there's that sort of skill effect, and then you've got people that are like 5 riders back that are like nearly taking each other out. And honestly, they Their qualifying session actually got red flagged because everyone was waiting for somebody for a tow, and the organisers pulled them in and give everyone a right roast, and it's sort of trickling down even even at British. It's there's big packs, and I mean on one side it's exciting to watch, but when say the old 125 days where the bikes there was less parity amongst the bikes, you would have like say when Nicole Terral and it would sort of spread out quite quickly, and you wouldn't get 15 bikes.
Yeah, you'd get the difference between the factory bikes and the privateers, even in the smaller classes, but they're all so even now. Mm-hmm. But like something you said before with the style of riding, the racing has changed. Even I've noticed, I've been in the Moto3 now since 19, and I've noticed the change in the style of racing since then to now, because I think there's this kind of urgency for the youngsters to kind of go through as quick as they can. So they've seen the likes of like Raul Fernandez. He did CEV, Moto3 and Moto2. Now he's going to MotoGP in consecutive years. So I think one of the problems is that kids start at CEV level now really young, and they say, well, I can get through the next World Championship, and keep going and going and going. And they're not staying in a class long enough to learn any kind of, shall we say, respect or any kind of riding skills or anything like that. So the style of racing now for me is they just come in and there's no kind of skill with the being able to do a fast lap. They just dive bomb each other at every corner, and they just, for me, that's what's making them like slower and more dangerous, because everyone's backed up, because they just, instead of being able to run a nice fast, even when you saw Jorge Martin when he won the Moto3, he'd kind of get to the front and there'd be a few of them and they'd be able to run a race. But now it's just maybe 10 of them at the front, and they're all dive bombing each other, slowing each other up, so then they're all next to each other down the straights, and accidents like this happen.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I guess one of the biggest dangers in bike racing period is going down on the risk of getting ran over, and obviously that's massively amplified if there's like 8 bikes all within a short space. Usually, like say on especially Grand Prix tracks, if you just crash like say a low side somewhere and you slide off into either the gravel or the grass or whatever, 9 times out, well, probably 99 times out of 100, if you're right, like in terms of the improvements with leathers, helmets, safety barriers, all of that sort of stuff, the biggest danger now is getting ran over.
Other riders, and I think going back to the Supersport 300 thing, the sheer quantity of the grid is just, it's too big. It's like 40 odd. It's crazy the amount of riders on the grid.
Another big problem with that is because they've got rid of the what used to be the European Superstock 600 class, which was, I did a few races in it and it was mental, like proper mental. But the problem, at least with a 600, there's a lot of skill in riding one fast. Yeah. So you would have the field spread out sort of in the correct order. One of the biggest problems with the junior Supersport class is because there's not that much to ride in them bikes, the difference between the fastest person and the 25th person, the 25th person can stay with the fastest person by the slipstream. There's not that much to the bikes. No. So by making them so easy to ride, and this is just what Whittam was saying as well, by making the junior Supersport bikes so like relatively easy to ride compared to, like say, if you compared them to like old 125s or things like that, it just means that you can't break the pack. Nobody's skill level is good enough to be that much better to break the pack. So you've got like the best riders and the people who are a lot less skilled all within this, and then a bit of desperation comes in because you maybe sat in 10th and you can see the winner there and you're thinking, I don't really have the pace, but go on, I'll just
slipstream all these and you can get past.
Put yourself in the position of someone who's say 10th, and there's glory of, I mean, if you finish 10th, you're going home pretty cheesed off. You think to yourself, I can lunge them and take a bit of a risk, but I might get a podium. You're an idiot not to have a go, wouldn't you? So you can't actually blame the people for being a bit desperate. Because they're just doing the best they can. But there's definitely got to be something done with that class. The 3 sort of high profile fatalities. And then I would say it was lucky that there wasn't another fatality.
It's all in the smaller classes, though, isn't it? You never see it really in the bigger ones because it's more spread out.
But it all seems to be coming. It's been an issue for a while. Don't get me wrong, but it all seems to be clumped together. It comes in threes, as the old saying goes, doesn't it? It just.
Well, hopefully that'll be the last of it for a while.
Really bleeding hopes up.
But I think it is it all stems from the smaller like learning classes, if you like, coming through CEV. They're all that desperate now. I think I can get through this class, the next class, and the next class, and do what Fernandez has done or Acosta, and they can just keep moving on without actually spending enough time in the class learning the way to ride properly,
And just before we started the podcast, we were having a bit chat about like your sort of role in the team, and you were explaining that as your role in the team, you look after the gearbox ratios, and that's with them all having the same engines. The advantage kind of comes from getting the perfect ratios for the gearing. I think people would find that really interesting to sort of hear about like how.
I don't care what they think. I'm about to learn here.
Yeah, like how say if you go out and do free practice one. What sort of data are you looking at to optimize the gear ratios? And is it a case of, does John come in and say I need more in third gear, less in second, or can you do it off the data, or like how does it work?
Yeah, the crew chief will talk with John about the ratios and the speed of the bike and everything. At the minute, we're lucky because we've ridden this same bike now. This is the third year, so we have all the data from previous years. So at the start of the weekend, I can build a gearbox. Hopefully that's it done for the weekend, but more often than not we are changing it quite a little bit just to tweak a little bit here. John has had to change his style recently just to suit this new style of racing with the younger kids coming in. And
you said that before. Can you put a label on that? What is it, more like aggressive? Is it more hanging off? Is
John,
it more...
I don't know if you've seen in the past, John has always been really good at running fast, sweeping, smooth lines. And that's where John's been able to put a really good lap time in qualifying or the race and just been able to stick at the front. But this new style of racing now with these kids, they just kind of like slipstream up the inside, put a block move on, and then you kind of ruined your line. You can't get out the corners. So John's had to adapt in the sense that the way he approaches the corners and the way he gets out of the corners. So obviously the gearboxes might have to change a little bit to accommodate the RPM change. The power from the bikes, the engines, has been the same for the last 3 years now. So yeah, you have to try and find a little bit of an advantage with gear ratios. So you've got the perfect kind of RPM coming out of a corner, and then that sets you up then for the straight.
Do you know if you woke up on race day and there was like a massive tailwind down the back straight?
Yes.
Are you changing the gearbox for that?
We change it between sessions, if the wind changes,
Yeah.
Because you'll change it for slipstream effect, and you'll change it for if there's a headwind. Some places the wind, like Barcelona, from the morning to the afternoon can change direction. So you might have a 20 mile an hour wind going one way at the start of the day, and then it changes, goes the other way.
Jesus.
So you sat there with your little weather station all weekend.
Yeah, we have a weather station out on the pit wall that tells us wind direction, and then if that's going to affect the bike enough, because they're only light bikes, if that's going to affect the bike enough, then the crew chief will sit down, look at his plan, and work out how much RPM we need to change the bike for a headwind.
What's the weight of one of those Moto3s? Because it's great when you see lads come in and you just pick the thing up and you just bung it on the bench.
Yeah,
it's no ramp needed.
I think they're about 80, 90 kilos or something like that.
And how much does John weigh?
With his leathers, about 65, I think.
Is that not without his leathers?
No, that's all in his leathers.
With his leathers?
Leathers, helmets, boots, everything.
Because if it's like the class is like, there's that many different variations in size of rider. There's still no advantage on that side of it. The weight of them is phenomenal.
You'd be surprised. Darren's about 10 kilos heavier than John, I think. 8 to 10 kilos heavier than John, just because of his sheer size, height.
Right.
There's not a lot to him physically wise, but there's.
Have you seen the data on that? How much slower is he down the speed track? Is his gearbox man going off? For God's sake, here we go.
No, we generally start with, I think, the same gearbox, but then they will change a little bit. But their riding styles are completely different as well. So they set theirs up for Darren, and we set ours up for John.
Is Darren more, shall I say,
aggressive?
Modern, shall I say, rather?
No, Darren, ever since he jumped on the bike at the start of the year, he's kind of fired it into the corner, stopped it, turned it with a rear brake and got it out. Whereas John's, at the start of the year, liked to take a real nice sweeping fast line through the corners. But at the minute, he's getting interrupted too much with the people coming underneath him and ruining his line. So example, in Austin, we changed the bike to allow him to do this more, and he's obviously adapted his style to do this, and you could see him, he was able to put the bike underneath at a corner and get it out without losing too much time. So
compared to, obviously we'll talk about your career before the Moto3 days, but compared to working on the big bikes, do you enjoy working on the little Moto3s?
Yeah, I do. They just the Grand Prix bike in general, because the first year I went to Grand Prix, I was with a Moto2 team on a KTM with Sam Lowes, and the difference between a production bike and the Grand Prix bike is everything is literally built to do that job, no more, no less, and it's just, and then the KTM was a lovely bike, don't get me wrong, but then going to the little Honda, obviously built in Japan, HRC, and it's just like a little bit of jewelry, you know, everything's so like infinite and small and just precise and nice. It's just,
I was about to ask another stupid question there, because obviously a standard, like, let's go over CBR 600, they're built into the casings. You have to split the engine, then redo this, redo that. Are they all cassettes then? And it must be, oh God, that must be lovely to work on.
Do you know if someone set you a challenge to do a full, so like no help, just you, to do a full engine change from on John's bike, so stopwatch, go, and you had all your tools out ready, how long would it take to drop the engine and put a new one back in?
Ooh.
Just me?
Just you, no one else?
Just not a gearbox change as well? Cause
just Chrissy with a stopwatch in the corner.
You change the gearbox to each engine that you run.
Yep,
right, yeah.
Change a lot.
Yeah, change a lot.
Take the gearbox out and clutch, because you obviously swap them between the engines. That's normally about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes to do this, and then you've got the engine itself, if I was to do it on my own, maybe 35-40 minutes.
It's nothing, is it? So
not really,
so they're made for working on, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you know,
I'm not this mint image of you with a rollie like that.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this one, but do you know the rough sort of what that bike's worth to buy new? Or
125,000 euros.
Euros,
like that. Yeah.
It's a bit expensive bit of kit for the size, isn't it?
But you don't, for that, you only get the bike, you only get the chassis, because the engines go, you kind of lease them off Honda. So you get 6 engines a year, so you get your first batch, you run them to mileage, send them back, you get your second batch. At the end of the year, you have to send them back. Gearboxes you can keep, they're yours. But the engine has to go back and the throttle body has to go back. Because if you've seen the throttle body, it's an incredible piece of work. Mm-hmm. But that goes back to Honda with the engines at the end of the year. And all you're left with is just a chassis.
For 125 grand.
Yeah. And do you know, say, because obviously the team you work in have got riders in MotoGP and Moto2, but, you know, just a Moto3 team, how many, in terms of like the staff that go to every round and like the team, for 2 riders, how many sort of staff are you talking?
For ours, we have, say on our side of the box, we've got, well, we started the year with me and Elisha are the 2 mechanics, the crew chief and data guy, and then we'd have 1 tyre guy between the 2. So then you got 4 guys in the site, about 9.
Right, and then the two riders. So right, fair enough. And
that's a tasty invoice every round,
and
isn't it?
You were just saying for the next year, is it 21 rounds?
21 rounds it's moved to next
world.
year. Yeah.
I bet you.
That's provisional calendar. That's what they want to do, obviously. But
do you work out your air miles for each year? Do you have like an app that tells you how far you've flown?
Yeah, it adds up each year.
Oh, I bet.
It's obviously last year wasn't so many because it was more, apart from Qatar, it was more like European based. But
was that nicer for you, being a English-based man? You know what I mean? Was it a bit of a fresh air for you?
What, just doing the European rounds? Yeah. No, because it meant more Spanish rounds.
What's wrong with Spanish rounds?
It's just there's too many of them, basically. For me and a lot of the people in the paddock, there's too many.
Right.
But it's easy for them because they have, whether you like it or not, they have good quality circuits. They have many good quality circuits. For the UK, we have pretty much for a Grand Prix circuit, Silverstone. Mm-hmm. They'd have to update Donington if we went there. They'd have to massively update Brands Hatch if we went there. And they're probably your 3 big circuits in the UK.
What would you say the updates to Donington would have to be?
Because that's a good talking point for this show, isn't it?
The paddock, for one, would have to be a little bit larger, I think.
Do you know, because since they did run the Grand Prix, they have tarmacked like a lot of the... like
behind Redgate and...
all the way.
Yeah, a lot behind there,
Yeah, so you've got the tarmac lake and all. So I think the paddock's big enough now.
Okay.
In terms of the track, obviously the track got a lot of criticism this weekend from BSB for not for the level of grip in the wet.
Yeah, I know it was cold though, and it's like 6-degree track temperature or something.
I know Hickman, I think, had a meeting, and a few other the riders, Tommy Bridewell, Hickman, and a few others had a meeting with Stuart Higgs or the circuit or whatever, and talking about like resurfacing. But I'm not too. For me, Donington's always been mega slippy. Since I started racing in the wet,
especially in the wet and the cold, it's never known for being
Yeah.
that much grip.
When was the last time it was resurfaced?
I think little bits get researched. The
No,
bits,
no. I know they do it in sections, but that was one of the talking points of the show.
not that long ago. I think
Like a full-
3 years ago, 4 years ago, because there was that time. Yeah, there was that time that they were talking about turning it into a Formula One track and taking Foggy S's out and having a straight from Coppice all the way down to Melbourne, and then it was going to go like a 90-degree right-hander and then join up with like the top of Craner curves. So like that last bit was going to be, so like the track would have been a lot more improved and, like I said, sort of built for Formula One, but that never actually got through. But yeah, every time it's been resurfaced, to me, I don't think the grip's been better. It's always been horrendous. Yeah.
Right. Because everyone was just talking about how it was old tarmac and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Speaking of riders complaining, the GP this weekend, there was massive complaints about the bumps.
Oh, the bumps are horrendous.
Is that the most bumpiest track you go to?
So far, yeah. Did you see Alicia Spargaro crash maybe four times?
4 times, all on the bumps as well.
And you could see them. It wasn't anything else. You literally went across it. You see the bike go like that and boom, gone. It's like...
Yeah,
horrendous.
horrendous.
But
is this on a corner? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, there's loads of crashes.
Pretty much the whole circuit, but you see them come around. Even like the light bikes, ours, you see them come around these corners and they're hitting them and like jumping, and it's like,
there's a few that are like going into the corners, so like they act like kickers. So like you're fully committed in like 150 mile an hour, and then the rear wheels coming off the ground and going sideways.
Then you've got to change direction as well while it's doing this. And
it looks horrendous to ride, to be honest. But the problem is all the American tracks are really bumpy, I think, aren't they? It's not like if they go to like Laguna Seca, I think that's notoriously bumpy, and obviously they've got to have the American market's massive, and it's really important to have an American Grand Prix, so basically they're going to have to spend millions resurfacing, I think, but maybe not just the top, they have to dig down. I think that's where the problem is.
Yeah, because Formula One, they're in a couple of weeks as well.
Are they?
So they're going to make it worse.
Yeah.
So
it's mad. Do you know how much of an effect Formula One has on? So, like, for example, if you go to Silverstone after a Formula One, like going into turn one, so the force of the Formula One cars generates so much force into the corners, it like ripples the corners going in, so it ends up with bumps. But it's when you think how much force that must be to like push the tarmac,
to move it,
like unbelievable. But yeah, that it'll be interesting to see Formula One cars around there.
Might level it out.
I doubt it. Was there a big crowd at Austin?
Seemed quite big, yeah.
How is the sport pretty big over in America, like the GP?
A lot of people you speak to out and about in the town, like if you when you leave the circuit overnight and then you go back to the hotel, and then people are like, oh, what are you guys doing? They see you all in your team gear and they're like, oh, what are you guys here for? What are you doing? And a lot of people out and about in the town don't really know about it. I think it's only kind of your specialised sports fans who kind of recognise you and stuff. But yeah, there seemed to be quite a big crowd though. It seemed...
I think America could do with like another massive star in GPs. Obviously, there was a time where they had Nicky and John Hopkins, two massive characters. Obviously, the era before then, it's always been full of Americans. At the moment, they've got Joe Roberts in the Moto2 class.
Cameron Bobier.
And Cameron Bobier, both in Moto2. How's Cameron getting on in the championship?
For his first year, he's doing well. I think he had one of his best weekends in Austin. Obviously knows the track really well, but I think for his first year, his rookie year, he's doing quite well. Obviously, there's a lot of new tracks to learn, and it's the times. If you look at the times, the top 20 are covered by 1.2 seconds. Sometimes it's so close. You can be just a little bit off, and then you're way back. So it's that close. It's that tight.
The series definitely could do with an American star, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think Cameron might be your next one.
Do you think he's better than Joe?
At the minute, yes. Because it's the whole package as well. With Joe, I think he's a very talented rider. He's very good, but it's the package that he's with. I don't think he feels quite so comfortable in the Italian team as Cameron does in the American team.
Right.
Is there any standout characters for you? See,
characters
when you
or
think
races?
Like the Schwann, like races, you know what I mean? In Moto3 to Moto2, MotoGP. Now, with Rossi leaving, he was like the standout character, wasn't he? He went over the top and he stood out. You know, that's what it's an entertainment sport. But at the moment, everyone just seems corporate,
very sanitized.
It's unbelievably sanitized.
Yeah.
You know, just get some 12-year-old smoking a tab having a whiskey. You know what I mean? Just
is there any characters in the GP?
I'd say Cal was probably the last one that wasn't kind of conformed to that way of being, you know. Cal was always quite outspoken and very straight and to the point. Yeah, you're right. A lot of them are very kind of sanitized.
It's almost
it's a bit corporate,
quite robotic.
Yeah,
really, isn't it?
For me, it is.
I'd say, obviously, in our team, is Darren. He's very kind of laid back. He is a good character away from even in the box when he's not out on the track. He's quite a lively guy, you know. Even at Yumo, he's like Sasaki. He's very lively. And
I'm just listening to John Hopkins's autobiography at the moment, and that is just like off the stuff going on behind this. I'm really, really enjoying the book, but the stuff that they used to get up to
behind the scenes
stuff.
stuff.
God, it's you just cannot imagine that happening now. It's almost impossible. Like, you just wouldn't get away with it.
Like, see, what I saw when I flicked on the telly is now I'm going to say it how it is. John McPhee should have had that win. You know, the fact that they reran, this is my opinion, they reran a race.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a big accident and everything like that, and they called it. And I've never ever heard of them giving a result from the first part of the race.
It is in the rules. We did check it. It is in the rules.
What a load of crap, man. It's
it
a
was,
bit like...
The thing is, they were, after that second part of the race got red flagged, they were talking about rerunning 5 laps again after the MotoGP race.
What's your opinion on that?
On that was crazy idea.
What, the fact of doing another
5 laps after the MotoGP race?
Why is that?
I think having to wait and do your preparations again as a rider is difficult, obviously with the bikes, and not just that, but a lot of the Moto3 teams had planned obviously the race finishing when it did, boxing up and getting flights. So at 5 o'clock, a lot of the Moto3 teams wouldn't have even been there to do it. So
that literally that uniform to go.
So the people in charge, like the Dorna and Erta, they spoke with the team managers, and all the team managers basically said, no, we're not doing a rerun after this, so it reverts to whatever. And the rules say it reverts to the first part of the race, because the second part, I don't think, completed enough laps. So they went back to the first one. It was crazy because the guy that gave the win wasn't even running on track at the time.
That is exactly my point. And another point, we're talking about no characters in the sport, right? I don't know what his name is, but I'm going to call him a spoiled little shit. That's what I'm going to call him, right? He came in, right, screaming at his team, kicking stands, chucking tables and stuff like that.
Who was it?
A spoiled little shit. That's who it was.
He's Angavara.
Honestly, I'm not being funny. I don't know how much he's paying for that ride, because there is only one way them lads tolerated that behaviour, is the fact that he's paying to be there.
What was the score? What was the reason why he was going like that?
He was leading the race in front of John and Darren, and then he came out of one of the corners and his shock failed. It just went straight through. So he kind of pulled off the track, came in the pit box, spat his dummy out, started crying, stamping his feet. And then the race got flagged a lap later, red flagged a lap later, and then obviously everything kicked off with is it going to rerun or not? They called it a race, and because the first part of the race he was leading, then they gave him the win. So he went from kicking his toys around and crying to jumping around for joy.
I think
all in the space of 10 minutes.
I think it's a disgusting example. You know what I mean? This lad has clearly got the skill level to be professional. If I was Mr. Honda or something like that, and I saw that happening, I'd be going, don't let him on one of my bikes. Obviously, I was born, bred in the northeast of England. I would have got clipped to High Heaven Hill. Yeah. But I couldn't believe his attitude, and the fact that they just let him. I would have lost my shit. I would have gone, look, son, who do you think you are?
Yeah, fair enough throwing your gloves around. No. That's like maximum. But then kicking stands across the floor.
And he literally was acting like a 2-year-old, Ben. And I just, go do that in your own time. It's like, I remember watching BSB, some lads on the 300s, when they've came 3rd or 4th or something like that. And they've smashed the screen on the bike.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know what I mean? You're not paying for that. I'm making pay for it. Oh, that attitude boils my piss.
Do you know?
Proper boils my piss. That.
For I don't really follow the Moto3 class that closely. I don't know many of the riders, and I don't really have a good sort of what's the thing, finger on the pulse of it. Aside from Pedro Acosta, who's been a sensation this year, is there anybody in the Moto3 class that is you've tipping for the future?
Garcia. It was Guevara's teammate. He wasn't there at the weekend. I think he got an injury. I think he's second maybe in the championship. He's doing really well. So like these rookies coming through, they're fast, straight away. So he'll be one to watch. Then you got your Fodgers who've been in it quite a while now. Obviously, he's getting some good results, and even Fanati. I think Fodgers got another year next year in Moto3. Fanati's moving up
to Moto2.
Yeah.
Is there an age limit in Moto3?
Yes.
Is there?
Yeah.
Right. What's the age limit?
28.
28.
Yeah.
So has John got one more year?
John can technically have one more year next year, yeah, because he's still 27 at the start of the season. He turns 28 midway through the season.
See, John seems to have been in Moto3 like forever. Yeah. Like I remember when I first started racing, he was in 125s, which is effectively the same class. Obviously, there's been the change from 2-stroke to 4-stroke, but he was in GP 125s at BSB in 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
So a hell of a long time in it for the sort of staying in the same
class. Because if you look back through some old kind of timesheets from 5, 6, 7 years ago, there are still a few guys in the class now that you see on the timesheets then. He's been around it a while.
Did John ever go on a Moto2 bike recently?
Yes.
How did that go?
I think for his first weekend he went well.
Did you stay in?
Yeah. Because it was kind of like within the team it was musical chairs because Frankie was out. Because he had a knee injury, so they put Jake Dixon onto the MotoGP bike.
That's it, yeah.
And then they got Malaysian Adam Norridin in for the first weekend that Jake was on the MotoGP bike. Then they got Jake back on it again. So they offered John a ride on the Moto2 bike. So we went and had a go on the Moto2 bike. And we got another Malaysian kid, Asman, in from the SIC CV team, and he rode our bike in Aragon.
Do you have anything to do with the Moto2 and the MotoGP side? Like, do you socialise together? Or?
Yeah, we all stay in hotels together. We all eat in the same hospitality. So yeah.
So, what's the rest of the team like, sort of behind the scenes? Do you see much of Rossi? And
saw a lot more of him in Austin, yeah, because of the way the hospitality was and no motorhomes, that kind of thing. So he was in the hospitality a lot. He comes in on like a normal European round. He'll come in the hospitality on a Thursday because we have a big team meeting, team talk on a Thursday. So he's in there for that. But generally he eats in the hospitality with all his guys after everyone else is gone.
Right. Also, just because it keeps separate.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Have you ever been starstruck by any riders?
Yeah, Rossi.
Literally Rossi.
He's a legend, isn't he?
Shivering when you.
Well, what was your first encounter with Rossi then? Was it since Petronas?
Yeah, obviously seen him around the paddock previous years.
Yeah.
But he just kind of flicks past on his scooter. But then this year, obviously, he's in the same team gear as us. He's eating in the same hospitality, and yeah, you see a bit of him, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I followed him.
Just so nonchalant. He would be creaming in his pants, man. If he had that, I would be like, "Oh my God, Rossi!"
But I remember watching him on the 125 days from Donington, because obviously from Derby, I used to live 10 minutes from Donington, so every Grand Prix that was at Donington, I used to go and watch. So I remember watching him on the 125s there. And
do you know what? One of the things that where I'm up to in the John Hopkins book, I was just listening to it before this podcast
commission
started.
For this book, Paddy? I'm just like to mention John Hopkins' book.
You can have a stack of them here to sell.
Pre-autographs, order for $9.99.
One of the things he was saying from years back was everybody. So like when the sort of Rossi mania started, and like he was getting almost bigger than the sport, he said all of the riders were aware that Rossi was brilliant for the sport, and therefore all of the riders were earning more money because of Rossi.
From it, yeah.
So like they all had a respect for him, and they all liked him and got on with him because like he was basically
bringing the exposure and the publicity,
bringing so much to the party.
More money in, that everyone gets paid more.
Exactly, yeah. He was making the pie bigger, and then everyone was getting a bigger slice.
Yeah.
So, which I thought was interesting because like that's
a pretty honest kind of answer there.
Yeah, and it's true as well because he has sort of transcended the sport.
Everywhere you go, no matter what country you go to, even from Qatar, Argentina, across to Australia, there's always a massive following. Everywhere you go in and out of the circuit, morning, evening, there's always the yellow 46s
It's like
there.
I went down to Silverstone this year, and there was 80% of the crowd who had something like yellow or his colours on.
Yeah.
And it's like sort of running. It doesn't even matter the fact he's running round at the back. And he was like second last at Silverstone.
Yeah.
He still had by far the most. Like everyone was there to see him. He had a foot massive grandstand, and like he's such a legend.
They love him.
Will there ever be another Rossi?
No.
I
don't
Do you reckon
think so.
that's just come and gone in motorcycles?
I think we're really lucky that we've lived through his era.
Through this era, yeah, because I think you'll have someone. Obviously, Marquez will be as great on the track. I think. Even looking at your Fernandez now, Raul Fernandez, I think he's got a really big future ahead of him. But as far as personality and character, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, because we had like the Sheen era, didn't we? You know, for English racing. You know what I mean? That kind of era, you know what I mean? I know Rossi was...
Even now, I don't know if you go, if you went into a pub and you said you race bikes, they would either say, or do you know the thing, like the next, like either Valentino Rossi, the next one is Barry Sheen. Like even now,
that's what I mean.
or like
It's
you still see leather jackets with a 7 on and stuff. Like his brand is so big, isn't it?
Every time I'm getting a taxi to the airport to go away somewhere, and there's like the taxi driver's asking you what you do, where you're going, and you, I'm in MotoGP, and they're like, Valentino Rossi, and I'm like, yeah, he's in our team.
I just had dinner with him.
He's in our team. You know, you work for him. I don't work for him, but he's in our team. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So it's everyone knows Valentino everywhere you go.
I've got a recommendation before he leaves for his last day at work. Just get him to sign a shitload of shit. You know what I mean?
I think that's the
You'll
plan.
be moved out of Lower Fell in no time, son. You'll be back.
I think that's the plan. Get a load of knee sliders and tear off signed and visors.
Just sit him
If
down.
we give you a chasing the racing cap of the next Grand Prix, Jack, and you'll be able to just perch one on top of him and get a picture of it. We'll try.
I think I might get whistled to the ground.
There is no such thing as bad publicity. Even if he slags us off, that would be ideal. So I tell you what, we briefly talked about, you going back to Derbyshire to watch him race round on 125s and stuff. So is that how your love affair started with motorcycles then?
Yeah, kind of. It was all through my dad, really. He was start line marshal for Derby Phoenix. You know, the club
Jesus.
Derby Phoenix.
When did that go under? Was it 3-4 years ago?
Few years
Is
ago.
it? Yeah.
Must
I
it be?
didn't realise it had, but yeah. But my dad was flag marshal for Derby Phoenix. So
Right.
since before I was born, so a long time ago. So pretty much ever since I was a baby, I was always going to the racetracks every other weekend for the club meetings, and it kind of, my love for the sport and motorbikes came from there, really. Grew up with it, and met quite a few guys through there. One of them, Phil Giles. You heard of Phil Giles?
Heard of him, I think.
Yeah. He used to race in the club, and then kind of lost touch for a while, and then it was 1998. I'd actually gone to Mallory Park, British Superbikes, just to watch, and wandering around the paddock, and I saw Phil in there, and I was like, oh God, I didn't realise you were racing in here. And he was on a privateer bike at the time, and just got talking, and he asked me if I'd go and help out and help him like on the spanners a little bit, because I'd finished school, gone through college, like motor vehicle college, and learnt all about the engines and everything like that. So he basically asked if I could go and help out, just technically, and someone who knows how to use spanners. So I kind of helped him for the rest of the season. We ended up winning the BSB Privateers Championship that year. The year after
What
that...
was the name of that team then?
The name of the team at the time was Sunquest Kawasaki, which you probably never heard of.
No, but we have now.
The year after, it changed to Hawk Kawasaki, which is now the Bill Base. Bill Base Suzuki
There we
team.
are, then.
Yeah, Stuart Hicken. Yeah, so I've known Steve Hicken since he was a little lad, and Stuart gave me probably one of my first jobs in BSB, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just went straight in, you come work for us. So was that a full-time
No,
career
it's
for you?
still, because I was still working at the time in a garage, so I was doing the weekends with them, and then it was a couple of guys I worked with there went to work for another team a few years later, asked me to go and work for them. That was Red Bull Ducati with Michael Rutter and Sean Emmett. So I was working there.
What was Sean Emmett's on my list of to get for the podcast?
Yeah.
As in, like, to think
That'd
I've
be
done.
interesting.
He's just
Why? I want to know. I want to know why.
I can't go into that.
Yeah, let's
You'll
go
have to
into
ask
it.
him. No, you'll
Oh,
have to
you
ask
shy
him.
bag.
is it a proper character?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm not saying any more.
do you think it would be a good podcast?
He was. Any no stories about him in the Hopkins book?
Not so far, but I'm only I
can imagine Sean's kind of stories would make it into that
Right.
book, you know.
Oh, he's definitely on the list.
Were you on Sean's side of the garage?
I started on Sean's side of the garage, but then I'd say because of the way he was, he got let go from the team. So then I moved on to the Rutter side of the box for the rest of the year.
Was he a bit of a party lad? Like?
Yeah, I loved it.
Good lad.
Yeah,
is that
it.
why you moved from Derbyshire up here?
This was much later. No. So I started working on the Rutter side of the team. Then that's when we did the Northwest and all that kind of stuff with them.
By the way, do you still get Bear as a nickname?
Yeah,
sometimes.
I was wondering. I was expecting like some like hairy Russian. You know when he said I've got Bear coming. Like, all right, what's going on?
Because funnily enough, the guy I worked with in the Red Bull team, Mark Woodage, Brains. He's obviously been my crew chief the last 3 years in the Moto3 team.
Mm-hmm.
I occasionally get it off him still.
All right. Where did Bear originally come from?
I believe it was obviously 2003 in that team with Mark. He just had a son at the time, a baby son, and he used to watch a program I think called Bradley Bear. So he just started calling him
really?
Bradley Bear. Yeah. So
That was like a bear.
That's where I came from.
Do you know Stephen? Yeah. This is a celebrity called Stephen Bear. Do you know that?
No.
Oh, did you not know?
No.
He's like a sort of, he's on all of the sort of corny sort of celebrity type, like celebs go dating and not Love Island, but that sort of thing. But he's you don't really want to be associated with him. No.
I'm trying to remember that there was a comedy sketch with a bloke with the bear, like he had his face in the bear outfit.
Yeah, Keith Lemon. That was.
Was it Keith Lemon? Like, whoa.
It's nothing to do with anything like that. Nothing that sinister.
That's a shame.
That's the other Stephen Bear's.
Oh, you're all right, pet.
The other Stephen Bear's getting a lot of hammer at the moment because he's recently started an OnlyFans with his new girlfriend, and he gets a lot of hammer on.
Where's this conversation going?
Anyway.
Gary Lineker's son tweeted the other day saying like Stephen Bear is the worst human being in the world.
Oh, yeah?
Sure, man.
Yeah, because of something. If just check his Twitter if you want to see, it's like horrendous. But back to the racing. So from
a legit lovely bear.
Yeah, from Hawk racing days and then onto the Ducati. Do you know? Funny enough, Hawk used to before I had anything to do with racing. When I first started watching it, when it was on the BBC, Steve Parish and Charlie, the Australian Charlie, used to present it.
Oh yeah.
Hawk. There's something about that team. I distinctly remember as a kid watching the TV. And Steve Parish was going through the teams, and it was H&M Plant Honda, all those, and he was going through the prices of the bikes, and he was like, this one's 130 grand, this one's 120 grand. And I remember this dead clearly. Steve Parish had the Hawk one, and at the time it was 35,000, and it was massively undervalued compared to all of the other bikes. And at the time, Scott Smart and Glenn Richards were the two riders. Mm-hmm. Scott Smart used to get the odd race win and like podiums on it, and I just loved the sort of underdog thing. So I was always like a big fan of like the
them guys.
Yeah, and it's funny because then sort of racing against Hawk for a good few years. It's a bit irrelevant, but I once had a crash when I was leading, and it meant their rider went through and won the race. And I remember the owner, not Steve, Stuart. As I crashed, obviously meant they got the race win, and he jumped up and celebrated. And ever since that, I've been like, you bastards.
Not so much of a fan
I used to be a fan of Hawk racing, but now you can. Now Hawk racing can do one.
not bitter much.
Yeah, not bitter. Not bitter.
Good
Hold a
lad.
grudge.
Yeah.
It's not good old grudges, is it?
Be
But
done.
Hawk, and then on to the
the Red Bull, and then from there to JHP Ducati.
Oh yeah, John Hackett.
Yeah,
So what was the Hawk bike at that point? What brand?
Kawasaki.
Kawasaki. Sorry,
Yeah.
yes, you did see.
The
Sorry,
750,
sorry.
But then did the knocked around BSB for quite a while with the JHP Ducati with Stuart Easton and Martin Jessup. Great era that year, for the 600 guys with Crutchlow, Laverty, Sykes, all those guys in the Super Sport. It's good years.
Mm-hmm. The great lads, the Hackett on Rick.
Yeah, Rick,
John's son.
Rick and John, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did that for a few years. I did from there did 2008 on the Superbike with John Laverty. That's when they started doing the Evo, the Superbike Evo thing. It's the first year on the 1098 we did that, and we won that championship that year with John, and then kind of fast forward a little bit, started in 2013 with the SMR outfit up in Gisborough. Hence why I've moved up
You
this
were
way.
with Vancraft Triumph for a little bit, weren't you?
Yeah,
Was
that was
Jimmy Hill.
Yeah, 10, 11 and 12 that was, yeah. Josh Cagle and Jimmy Hill, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Super stock and super sport. Yeah.
How like this is such a random question, but did you have was this like a year to year thing for you, or was this like a career path? Because there'd be a lot of people listening to this going, how do I they want to be in your shoes, they want to go around the world and they want to work with the best in the world, and I think you started off as being a bike mechanic who just helped out someone, and from BSB you just went from Ducati, and then it just went from snowball and snowball. How did you keep your I know I'm trying to think of not obviously you're very good at your job, but it was the case that do you have to apply for new jobs, or was it just word of mouth, or was it just
you don't. It's not one of those kind of things you apply for, really. It's saying that I did to get in the GP paddock, but I'll get into that later. It's you're obviously in the BSB paddock. You work in a few years, you get to know a few people, and then come 3/4 of the way through the season, if you want to move to another team, you start talking to other teams. If there's an opening, it's something that suits you, then you go, you know.
So best bit, I'm just thinking for those listeners who would like to be in your shoes, what would be the best bit of advice you'd give them from early doors at BSB? What would you ask Baby Bear? What would you ask Baby Bear?
If you want, it depends what route you want to take. If you want to take a really technical route and have qualifications, then you need to go to colleges, which now there are a lot more colleges that do bike specific, motorsport specific.
Yeah.
There wasn't any of that when I was coming through college. It was just a general kind of motor vehicle stuff. Now there are a lot more specific motorsports colleges. You can learn about telemetry data, all the engine side, chassis and all that kind of thing, depending on what you want to go through. If you're a more technical person who likes a laptop, you can do degrees in data and telemetry and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I went through college. I got my motor vehicle qualifications, and then basically you need to get to a club or even BSB and start asking around if there's a team that you can help, or if there's a team local to where you live, if there's something you can do to help them out.
On a volunteer basis.
To get into the because
get your toes in.
Yeah, just trying to get your face around, and then when you've done enough years and people recognise you, they know you're doing a good job, and you get word of mouth. You can move to other teams.
So it was in 2013? Did you say was the Sean Muir the first sort of full-time job?
No, I'd been doing it full time since 2005.
Right. Okay.
Right. With the John Hackett team.
Were you working in between the rounds or just on weekends?
Just that.
Just race weekends?
Oh no, because it was the British, we'd work on prepping the bikes during the week at the workshops. Because you can basically do that, pack the bikes up after a weekend, drive them back, go into work on a Monday and start prepping the bikes so they're all done then.
That's what I say, because that wouldn't exactly be a 9-to-5 job. It'll have to be get the job done, period. So I can imagine
you can do, no matter kind of how, depending on how you kind of plan your days and whatever. But it's different now with the World Championship. We basically fly out, we prep the bikes on a Wednesday, Thursday, and then go racing. And that's it, like full strip, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we race. So there's no workshop in between.
And when you first signed...
Back at the wagon.
When you first signed for Sean Muir, what was the team structure then? Like, who were the riders? And obviously in British Superbikes. But...
Yeah, that year was James Ellison that I was working for, and Australian lad.
Josh Waters.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, was that the sort of Swan days or the Milwaukee?
That was the first year of Milwaukee.
Right, got you.
Yeah, because the Swan had just lost the sponsor. Well, they just lost the Swan sponsorship the year before, and then the team was restructuring. They got the Milwaukee thing quite late, I think, in a deal with obviously Milwaukee and doing the road stuff. So
I think it's crap cigarettes left the game.
Have they
They've only dropped it?
Yeah.
Haven't they? You can't advertise
you can't
cigarettes,
advertise cigarettes or alcohol anymore.
You used to so the banned cigarettes, but you were allowed to do the papers, so that's where Rizzler and Swan carried on sponsoring.
Yeah,
but
and like now with the beer, you can still, like Estrella Galicia is still a sponsor, but they have the 0.0 non-alcohol, so they get away with.
The zero free, the alcohol free.
They get around
the
loophole with saying it's alcohol free, but it's still the beer brand.
There we are.
So yeah.
And I think, do you know the Ducati sponsor that the main sponsor for MotoGP, Ducati? That's the company that owns, say, like Marlboro and all of that
Philip
sort of
Morris,
stuff.
I think.
Yeah, but they just use. I'm trying to think. The Go. Is it Go Winnow or Window? Or...
Oh yeah, Mission Winnow.
Mission Winnow, yeah. So like that brand.
I think it's mainly Lenovo now. I think they're
Oh yeah, sorry.
I think
that
it's
is,
all
yeah.
like this year. I think it's Lenovo Ducati. I think.
Yeah, I think
that
the
may be
year
Envy.
before that, Winnow,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Mission Winnow,
I think that's just part of a company, but it's
Yeah.
still like the same people like Marlboro
Yeah.
and stuff. I think, but yeah, it is.
But
It's
once, cigarette money and alcohol money went out of it, it went.
it's I think energy
bring
drinks. Energy drinks have taken
bring
over.
back
haven't they?
cigarettes. Bring back cigarettes. Everyone will be back out on it.
Yeah,
It'll
the
be
big
mint.
thing now is, like you say, the energy drinks. Yeah.
Yeah, energy drinks is massive, and
Yeah.
insurance companies.
Quick
Like
plug.
Rich Energy.
Yeah.
Quick plug.
It mainly is. If you think sponsorship for bike racing teams, it is mainly energy drinks and and insurance companies.
And I think they make up a big part of the riders' wages as well, because you see a lot of riders, even though the team's not sponsored by an energy drink, the rider's got it on the helmet, so that
Yeah.
puts a lot of kind of pressure off the team for money for wages. Yeah.
Crazy. Well,
So
yes.
hold on, you were talking about you had to apply to get in. Oh, I was about to say we kind of just
We'll
shut
go-
you down. Let's keep going for
Yeah,
your career. Where did we get to?
2013. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of that year forced into looking for a job at the end of 12 because the team I worked with before that finished, the Vancraft team, they pulled the plug, so it's kind of like, right, I need to go and find another team now. So you ask people and call up people that you know, team bosses, and see if there's anything. And Sean said, yeah, come and see me. So I went up and saw Sean, had a meeting, and that was that. So for 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I worked with Sean, 5 years.
And that's when you relocated to the northeast.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It was just easier to kind of live up there during the week and then go back home at weekends.
What was your standout memories from that sort of era? Obviously, there was quite a lot of success in the team and like.
All the free Milwaukee gear, that's what it was.
Yeah, there is a bit in the garage.
I'd love to have been family members with him. Imagine every Christmas what we're going to get, an impact driver, get it?
No, it was my first year in the top class kind of BSB team, so it was good in that respect. It was really good. We also had quite a good roads program, so we were doing Northwestern TT at the time.
Have you ever been to a road race beforehand to spectate?
Yeah, I'd done the Northwest previously in 2000, obviously 2003 with Red Bull Ducati.
But even like, did he ever go to a road race before working at one?
Before working at one. No.
So talk me through your first road race paddock experience. You've gone from BSB where it's full of hair, gel and feelings.
Yeah, the first time I ever went was 2003 Red Bull. We'd just finished the Alton Park round and the Northwest was literally that week. So we packed up, drove up to Stranraer, I think, got the ferry across, and yeah, I can't tell you the first kind of...
Of course you can.
I can't. I can't tell you the first thing that happened in
why not?
my first time in Ireland.
Go on, tell us, man. Go on. Well, yeah, you can.
I can't.
Well, yeah, no one listens to this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, someone might.
Go on.
But the actual paddock itself was...
Everyone's going to be asking about this moment, you know.
The paddock was an eye-opener because it was all kind of like broken tarmac and fields, and yeah, it's a little bit scary in that respect. Kind of like, it was a real eye-opener as to how they go racing. Come up from Alton Park, and yeah, it was a bit...
Was this with rudder?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you've gone through scrutineering, you've got all of it set up.
Traiped through the field, you mean,
Yep.
for scrutineering.
Good
yeah.
lad, you've done the lot. You've pulled up at the line. You've watched your first race. What was your opinion on it?
Holy shit.
I bet it was.
Because at the time I was doing the pit board for Michael, and at the time, you know where they come down the start-finish, that's kind of like short start-finish part, and then they go right and then left onto that straight out the coast road.
Yeah.
At the time, you were pit boarding on the far curb, like, and there was just like one of those metal barriers. So basically you're waiting for them to come down. You could see them come round the corner, and then they go into like the little bus stop bit where the start finishes, and then they come out, they come right and then left, and then they basically head towards you. And it's just you and a curb and the metal, and it's like you're trying to hold a pit board out, and you're like, this ain't going to work. So you got to kind of pull it back in, because they go right, you obviously see them come right into the curb. Dust and shit and all sorts in your face, and it's like, oh Christ, it's unbelievable.
Some great pictures of people using the curb as a berm with the shit coming up.
You've got it, haven't you?
Things. Dom races the Northwest, you know, and the TT and stuff.
Yeah. Love it. But they've moved that now, haven't they? The pit board and stuff's a little bit further down, isn't it?
Is it?
Off onto the grass now. So basically, it's safe. Yeah,
it's road racing,
but it's safe.
That doesn't count in
so
our sport.
you come round there now, where we would be pit boarding, hit the curb, and off you go down there, and the pit boarding's a bit further down.
And then from the Northwest, did you go to the TT with Michael?
Did I do the TT? I don't think we did the TT that year.
So was your first TT experience with Sean?
Yeah, I think my first TT experience was, I was working with Connor Cummins in the SMR thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we didn't do the TT that year.
Can you remember your first?
Wasn't foot and mouth or something, was it? Did it get cancelled? I don't know.
2003.
3.
That must have been foot and mouth, I don't know.
Might have been.
Interesting. Because Michael Rutter's still got the fastest Ducati time round there in 1:27.
Mm-hmm.
There you are.
Yeah.
So maybe not, but not from that year anyway. But yeah,
Not from that year.
Talk us through your first TT experience.
Wow. The first flying lap past the grandstand start finish, the same thing. You got that small kind of wavy metal Armco and you kind of stood there and then they come past and it's like they're going like Mach 3 or something, just like boom, pass you like that. And as they pass you, you hear them hit top gear a bit further down there. So they're not even in top gear when they come past you. And they're almost kind of blowing you over as they come past. And again, the shit and dust in your eyes. And then you just see them disappear. And it's just...
So did you have a lap before you saw that?
Yeah, I'd been out before that.
My God.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. So, very experienced mechanic, very professional, normal circuit racing. At the TT, obviously, if you make a mechanical mistake on the bike, the consequences can be a lot more serious. So there's like that added risk.
Yeah.
Did you feel the pressure of preparing bikes for the TT more than or was it just exactly the same?
No, it's kind of the same. You know the risk is more, but if you put a good bike together, it should be all right.
Mm-hmm.
So you obviously take a little bit more precaution with lock wiring things that shouldn't come undone in a 20 lap race around a short circuit, and they've got like 30 odd miles around a TT circuit, bumping it around and everything. So you make sure everything's kind of tightened up a little bit more, lock wide, and just a lot more secure.
Did you swap out any bolts? Sean Muir's team now. Clive Padgett's very well known for all his successes throughout his career, but he wrote a few articles for MCN. He swaps all the titanium bolts out and puts steel ones in. Just to lock wire. And he says was any more preparation?
Nothing like that,
no, right?
Because for that first year as well, we had the old World Superbike bikes, because that's when you could still run a Morelli. Like full Morelli spec bike.
Right.
So it was like the full World Superbike specs. So it was built to a certain spec with bolts and everything. So we just refreshed those and made sure everything was double checked, tight and lock wide and everything. So
How did Connor get on that year?
I think it was his first year back after the accident, wasn't it? The big accident. So I think he did all right, but he was steady. I don't think he was trying to break any records, but I think he did all right. His teammate was William Dunlop as well at the time.
They were beautiful bikes, Milwaukee R1s. So
those full factory spec ones were incredible. Yeah,
the pair of them were on R6s as well, weren't they?
I think they did stock 600, they'd stock 1600 Super Sport and the Superbike as well. Yeah.
Busy weekend for you lads.
We had to draft a few more people in to do that year.
Were you doing wheel swaps during the race?
I was rear wheel man. Yeah.
Do you feel the pressure of that, or is that just?
For me, the race, that's the best part of the race. Really? The adrenaline and everything. It's incredible. We obviously practiced it. The rear wheel setup for the Yamaha, the factory bike was just incredible. The spindle was tie nitride coated, so if you got enough like WD-40 on the thread, it just spun off. Because a lot of them have the captive nut on one side, but the Yamaha had like a nut in a spindle, so you had to kind of crack it off, take the nut off, spindle out, change the wheel, all that, put it back in, nut, click, and done. And I think at one point we had the fastest pit stop of one of the races.
I was about to say, you don't sit there and tell me a lie right now. You've timed yourself with the lads in the awning. What's your fastest time for a wheel change?
I can't remember back then.
Bollocks, you can't. Bollocks.
It's a long time ago.
Bollocks. He's been pipped by another lad in the garage. He's like, I don't want to talk about Dominic.
No, we did all right, but you're also kind of limited to how fast your fuel drains, aren't you, in those fuel drain things? If you get fast one, it's good, because you can always change your wheel quicker than you can do the fuel. But
one of the best things about the bike shows, the NECs and stuff, when they put the display bike but the old chain and everyone just goes up and has a crack at it, it's mint. And when you've got a whole audience watching you, the pressure's on. Never mind the Isle of Man.
Yeah, but for me, that, like I say, that was the most exciting part of the week, knowing that you've got to do that, you've got to do it right, you've got to get it, and there's only you can't have anyone else hand you a wheel or hand you a tool. You've got to get it all set out. You need to know the process, and it kind of just goes by in a blur and a flash. You think, shit, did I really do that? But it's just like the adrenaline's pumping that much, and you just push them off down pit lane and go, and it's just like you're still pumping for the rest of the lap. The adrenaline's going. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Then they've changed the ruling in the stock 1000 race. You're not allowed to do a wheel change.
Really?
I think it was 3 years ago. Hutchie did the first wheel change with Paul Bird Motorsport.
Yeah,
in the
Sam
stock
Neate did
race.
it, didn't he?
Sam Neate did it.
Sam.
There we are. So he did that, and you can imagine everyone just followed suit.
Yeah.
Immediately, everyone went, well, if you can change a wheel, let's change a wheel in ours. But stock 1000 race for the TD, you have to do the 4 laps on the same set of tyres.
Tyre.
Is that a safety thing? Or?
No, I think it's a production. It's trying to get it down to the production race, isn't it? So I personally think it saves me a tyre. So I'm 100%.
The cost of a rear boot.
I'm over the moon, young. I'm over the moon. I'm like, go on, Paul. Go on, stick to the rules, young. Stick to the rules. But like I say, the good thing about that's the thing about the Isle of Man is that they can run world superbike specs.
Mm-hmm.
So you can run
so
fancy
Yeah,
electronics.
I
and
think
fancy
I think
this
they've
and
changed
fancy
that now. Have they not? I think the year after you had to run BSB spec.
Right.
Was it? I think they went to Motec, didn't they?
Now, a lot of them are running BSB spec bikes, but they're actually based on donor rules of World Superbike, so you can run different ECUs. So, like Lee Johnson's bike, he could run, it goes well over my head, but he could run a different ECU in that bike compared to his BSB one.
Right.
Well, you tell me, what would be the difference in those ECUs?
Just the parameters that you could change. And
go on then.
Is Motec quite limited?
I think they've made it quite limited. You can change, obviously, fuel in ignition, that kind of thing, the mapping, but you're limited. Whereas on the full spec Morelli thing, you can change a lot more of the parameters.
Mm-hmm.
That Morelli stuff was really complicated. I didn't really get into that too much.
Yeah, fair.
But there is an advantage.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting.
Which other riders have you been to the TT with then? So Connor Cummins was the first time.
Connor and William, yeah. Year after that was Brooksy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And 15 was obviously the Michael Dunlop
fiasco.
Shall we say fiasco?
Going back to the Brooksy days, what was Brooksy like to work with?
He's mega. Yeah, he's good.
Have you ever worked with a rider you've been gutted with? Like you thought, I really want to work with him, and then he's turned up and gone, shite.
No.
Oh, he's very professional, isn't he?
No, because you either know the shite to start with, so you're not expecting them to be any good, or you just think, no, they're going to be pretty cool. Yeah.
Nothing like putting you on the spot, but who's the best rider you've ever worked with in terms of like, if you had to like have a night out with one of them right now, who would it be?
Night out.
You can't say John because that'll be licking out. aside from John.
Yeah, imagine if he turned around and went, I wouldn't invite John anyway.
No, I've had a few good nights out with John. He when he doesn't get him, doesn't take much for him to get pissed, should we say?
That's because he's like 6 stone.
But no, there's a few of them, but obviously not ones that I've worked with. But when you go out to parties, you see them. And
is there no one that you've directly like worked for as a mechanic that you think, I would love to like have a good catch up in a session?
Rutter was always good when we were at the Northwest. He was always a good one to go out with.
In the anchor.
Yeah, in the anchor. Yeah, because of who he is, it was always a good night.
Who's the loosest cannon you know then? Not one you've worked with. Go on, like on a night out, you've gone, Jesus wept. Come on.
Emmett was always pretty loose. Yeah. There's a few of them. Going back to the old British Supersport days, like they were like the end of season party at Brands Hatch and that they were.
I'm guessing
that's coming testing.
I'm guessing you're probably
testing as well. You go pre-season testing and you're in Spain and everyone's a little bit kind of more relaxed and a few nights out and yeah.
I'm guessing you probably won't want to answer this, but is there any rider that you've worked for that you would like the thought of spending a full evening with them? You would be like, oh god, they're a bit boring or like.
A fun sponge.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you want to...
but none that I'd say no. Because I'm still quite friendly with all of them. So.
Yeah, you can tell us after them. So back to the people you went to the TT with, and then at the same time, obviously running James Allison in British Superbikes.
Yeah.
And then quickly run through your show me your days, Superbikes wise. Like which riders did you have?
I was number one mechanic for Ellison that year. Number one for Josh Brooks the next year. And then in 15, I was crew chief for Brock Parks. But then he kind of not left, but he sidelined with an injury and an operation that he had towards the end of the season. So it was Jakob Schmerz. He was a great guy, to be fair. Jakob, yeah, he's one of the best guys I've worked with, just because he was such a nice guy. And then 16, we went to World Superbikes, and I was crew chief for Carol Abraham then on the BMW. And then the year after that, we had the Aprilia, and Eugene came in, brought Phil with him. So I was number one mechanic again for Eugene on the Aprilia.
Oh, cool.
The fact that you stepped it, now I'm trying to think how we can put this in like a regimental order kind of thing. So it's like, in my opinion, it's like mechanic, correct me if I'm wrong, which you will, but like mechanic number one, and then it's like crew chief, you know, when you're talking about like that structure ordered. So the crew chief thing, like, did you enjoy that part of it? Would you want to go back to that? Was it how did that go for you?
No, I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so. I'd if I got offered a position to do that, depending on what team it was and rider, I might be interested. But at the minute, I'm happy with the mechanical side of things. I enjoy working on the bikes, the stripping, rebuilding, changing, setting up, that kind of thing.
When we had Sean on the podcast, I'm not sure if he said this on the podcast or off, but we were talking about Eugene. He said he's a real nice guy to work with, and really good for development. Like, his feedback's really good. And did you enjoy your time working with Eugene?
Yeah, he was good, and obviously Phil's very good. He's crew chief. He's Top Rack's crew chief now. They're very good. They work together very well. And Eugene is someone that can set a bike up really well, and when the bike's set up well for him, he can be really fast. But I think if the bike's a little bit not where he wants it, he's just kind of not quite there until it's not prepared to push it, if you know what I mean, until it's quite there.
It's a small world when you think you were working for John Laverty like back in 2008, and then working for Eugene in World Superbikes on the Aprilia. And Eugene's missus Pippa is actually from County Durham, just like sort of a stone's throw from where we are as well. I think she listens to the odd podcast, so if she is listening, hello Pippa.
and it's possible that I could be working for Michael next year.
So also completing the family.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's it looks like a real exciting project that Michael's setting up for next year, and it's brilliant to have that link. Obviously, there's a lot of Spanish CV teams, and then link straight into the MotoGP, and it's people talk about it all the time. It's difficult to get from British superbikes or even like the fab racing side of things, like the youngsters in this country. But by having a British owned team in the World Championship with the likes of Michael Laverty involved, and Vision Track, who sponsor Paul Bird's team as well. It's brilliant to have. It's great for the sport, and you can tell that when Michael's on TV, he's like super passionate about the whole project, and it's going to be good. The two riders, Josh Whatley and
Scott Ogden,
and Scott's been doing a tremendous job in the CV. Got a race win at Jerez a few weeks ago, and he's like very much a young British talent that has the potential to go on to do really good things. I seen him at the weekend. He's very tall, isn't he?
Yeah, he's running top 10 in Red Bull Rookies as well, I think. Seen him a few times racing the Rookies Cup. He's quite tall.
There's the thing I personally don't really see a standout advertising for is the Red Bull Rookies anymore. It just seems to pop up now and then. I don't really focus on it.
They don't race at every Grand Prix.
Right.
Obviously, a lot of the Spanish ones they do in Italian, that kind of thing. But I think it's all advertised on Red Bull TV now because it's all very much part of that package. So,
No, it's just never jumped out at us. So a bit of a job change then, young, and you might be working with Michael.
Yeah, might be, yeah.
Right.
Because
if the cheddar's right, young, I like your style.
He's
Come on, John, put your hand in your pocket.
He's basically bought all the material and the infrastructure, everything from the Petronas Sprinter team, which is finishing at the end of the year. So he's got that, and he said he'd like to keep on as many of the staff just to keep the continuity, and
that's great.
Keep people going.
Right.
Is that based in Belgium? The team.
The workshop is Belgium, yeah.
Yeah, I was asking. Dom was racing in Belgium. Was it last week? Or
I'm going tonight.
Oh, you're going back? Sorry. For Mete. Dom's racing in Mete this weekend in the Supermoto thing.
Oh yeah. Whereabouts is that?
Belgium.
Whereabouts in Belgium?
I have no idea.
Because our workshops are in Lommel, which is near the motocross World GP motocross track. Yeah.
Do you not know where about? Are you just going to stick it in the sat nav?
Literally I'm an hour down from Brussels.
Right. Is that near where you?
Yeah, not too far, I think.
There you go. You see.
Cool.
Do you want a lift?
No, I'm all right. There's nothing there at the minute. There's no point in me going.
Are you looking forward to the weekend, by the way?
I can't wait. So
first time on a supermoto race.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That'll be interesting.
I've done road racing. I've got a plan. I've got
Yeah.
a solid plan.
Yeah.
It's essentially kill Davy Todd into the first corner.
And then you're good.
Yeah, and then I'm good. then I'll have to wipe out Connor Cummins as well after that.
It's Connor racing.
Yeah, Connor Cummins is racing. So basically, if I can get both of them at the same time,
How's
that'll be, and it'll look good for me TT as well. So of them two, I don't want to kill them. Just a couple of collarbones. So nothing serious.
How come Connor's doing it?
I have no idea.
Is there any other Brits out there?
Joe Ackroyd's going.
Is he?
He was so close to being on my shit list.
Hey,
Bear in mind, Joe Ackroyd's the ultimate stand-in. You know what I mean? Everyone loves him. He's mid-crack, and I could have punched him in the face.
If you're watching this, Joe, I'm actually repping his merch.
I know, something like that. You are a sellout, aren't you? That's honestly, I was about honestly, he just does not pick up the phone. And say, well, he's in so much shit with his wife at the moment because he's going to Mette, and then coming home, I'm dropping him off at Manchester on the way back to work. He's going on his honeymoon. So he's literally just dropped everything and coming to Mette. He's in so much trouble. And I'm like, Joe, are we going? And we missed the flights and this and that. And I'm bringing, it's all going to pot.
Are you flying down? You're not driving?
I'm driving.
Oh,
No, we
driving,
were going to fly.
Oh, yeah.
But this is his fault. Because he left it a week and now the flights have doubled in price and stuff like that. But no, Joe, you've pulled it out the bag. I love you still. Don't you worry.
And also,
hopefully I'm on the way to find out.
Speaking of Davy Todd as well, he had a really good weekend at Donington just gone.
Fantastic.
He hasn't done up the full season in Superstock this year, but just stepping in with the Padgett team, and actually crashed just behind him on Saturday. He was second in the race, and I went down on we were going into the Melbourne loop on the last lap. He broke in the middle of the track and I was more towards the left and just took the front. Exactly what...
Oh, I saw your crash actually.
Yeah, Danny Buchan did the same thing in the Superbike race.
I was about to say, do you watch the beer? Do you keep an eye on it?
Yeah, as much as we can, yeah. Because a lot of the time we're in another country somewhere, heading to the airport on a Sunday, and we're trying to get it on the phone and watch it in the car, and we try and follow it a little bit.
You watch that Stock 1000 race. Right, I've got to ask, what were you doing lap before? You just pulled the pin on the last lap. It was just the most entertaining last lap I've ever seen. It was you were 7th, and it's you just seen a pit board and went... Oh fuck! I better go. And it was just it wasn't on it. It was 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and it was he's gonna do this. And Rollo was aware, and I'm just thinking he's doing this, and it was just.
I didn't earlier on in the race. It was really weird because obviously the team was saying the same thing. Why did you find so much pace at the end of the race?
Mate,
I was right at the front at the beginning, and I was you know what it's like at the top of Hollywood where you just a little bit of throttle and it was twitching and it was out the seat all the time and picking the throttle up everywhere I was out the seat. People were coming past and I was thinking, right, I'll stay with them, and I was having moments. So I just slowly went back, and then. I think it was 3 laps from the end. I was watching the race back and I'm thinking, I'm miles back. And I'm thinking, I know where I get to before I crash, but I'm thinking, how on earth did I? And then all of a sudden I felt like I was just pushing the same, but I just found more and more grip as the race went on.
Mate,
I did the fastest lap the lap before, and then obviously going on the last lap, I made a few places up, got up to 3rd, and I was sort of I was obviously going to have a go trying to get past Davey for 2nd, and that crashed. But just I don't know where the pace came from, but
I was watching halfway through the race going, I'm going to have to look and sit opposite his miserable face. Here we go. Here we go. I was prepping myself psychologically to put up with this miserable bugger, and then you just pulled the pin. It was go on, my son. It was mint, man.
But I obviously, not good going down, but it's one of them things, isn't it? And then
did you see Lee Johnson slap Bradley Perry in Supersport by any chance?
No, I didn't see that.
Wait, do you know Lee Johnson?
I worked with Lee in 2009.
Well, you missed that out.
At the raceways, sorry.
Right.
We skipped a few years, didn't we?
Now, come on, Lee must have been on that list to go out in the piss with.
Oh, yeah, he was a good lad, yeah.
Oh, it's all coming out now. Here we go. Yeah, one mention.
That was a good team, actually. We had Lee Johnston, AJ Venter and Billy McConnell.
Okay, Billy must have been on that list as well then.
Yeah,
good lad.
Yeah.
This is that one he didn't want to mention it, when he landed. So
I'll get Grace
to
to put the clip on, but yeah, basically last lap Perry went up the inside of Lee and kind of just took him out.
Was he wrong? Was he in the wrong? Me personally, I'm a huge Lee fan, but the fact
he's done well this year, only a couple of wins this year.
Lee's done
he won the race 1, I think, didn't he?
He did.
I think so.
He had another win anyway, but I think he's second in the championship by 20-odd points or something. But Lee is having it now. Bearing in mind, he takes the piss out of himself. That's why everyone loves Lee, because he's like, oh, I'm just a road racer. He's not. He's absolutely handing out some portions this year.
Yeah.
It's mint to see. But like in that situation, Lee trying to make a move. Was it Curry?
I'm not too sure, to be honest.
It was one of the
I've just seen him slap him. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. So anyway, he went on the inside and he just ran wide. So Bradley Peary was actually in the tow with, I'm going to say it as Curry, I'm probably getting this wrong, but he was following one of the Gearling bikes. And he just got behind his back wheel and just followed through. But Lee came and shut the door. And I'm thinking, you'll have to watch the clip, Chrissy.
Would you say it's Lee's fault?
It was one of those, like, the thing is, Brad would have seen him go in for the inside, run wide, and Brad would have just gone, right, I'm just going to stay on the inside. And it was just like a coming together. So I don't know.
I haven't seen it properly, to be fair.
It was a difficult one because, to be honest, what was Brad expected to do at that point? Just roll the throttle, let Lee sit back in and go, you know? It was, but it was funny watching Lee Johnson hit Bradley Peary, though. It was he had to jump to hit him. Well, one of them.
And it looks like Jack's pretty much wrapped that championship on. He's got a big up. But anything, obviously, if he crashes in the first race, it brands it's back on. But
it's been a proper season of racing.
He's got a big lead eye. And in the superbikes, obviously the dodgy weather sort of changed everything up, and all the results were all over the place. Gino Rea was the man of the meetings. We actually put a thing on our Patreon page where to win a Parker pen, the patrons had to say who would score the most points for the 3 superbike races, and not one person had Gino. No. So it went to a few. I think there was about five of them, and said Christian Iden, and Christian got the second amount of points. So it was actually Hayden Gibson that won the Parker pen this week.
There we go.
But everyone's
favourite Ginger.
Gino just absolutely dominated all weekend. Looked brilliant. Christian had a fantastic weekend under the pressure, and it's put him right back in contention. Brooksy had I think he was off about 3 times over the weekend. So he was having a good go, but just made a few small mistakes. And round there,
were small, mate.
It's so greasy that like one of them, he just had everyone was having twitches coming round Schwantz up the hill, and one of them he did well to save it, but they're not on wet grass, just had no chance and just went down. But yeah, overall the racing was really good at the weekend. My teammate Storm Stacey got up to second in one of the races and crashed out of second, which was good going. And he actually led that put him second on the grid, I think. And he went and he overtook and was leading the superbike race. So
he's definitely a lad who thrives on confidence. So he's only going to go up from there.
For his age and experience, it was a brilliant achievement just to do be up there for a few laps. Great.
Yeah.
You being in the premier part of the world in MotoGP paddock, what's your opinion on the showdown?
Yeah, well, I've been in the showdown before.
Of course,
I was there in the showdown, so...
There we go, then. What's your opinion on the showdown? Because Jason O'Halloran's getting mugged.
Yeah, hated it at the start, but this year I think it's worked out all right.
It depends who. It totally depends who you want to win.
Yeah,
because
it got bought in because Camilla ran away with it one year, didn't it? So it got bought in to make it close. But then
was that 06?
Might have been.
It was on the GSC Yamaha.
Yeah,
and he just absolutely. I think he cleaned up with like 3 rounds to go, didn't he?
This question always comes up with every guest that we have on, and it's always entertaining. It's always entertaining.
I think when I was involved in it, and it kind of ruined our championship, I didn't like it. But now I'm a neutral. I think it's all right.
That's exactly the point, though.
Who's winning now, though? Taz.
Taz is leading. The Taz in the last race was doing usually in the wet. He's like quite a safety man, especially around Donington. So one of the races he was about, him and Jason were both 6th or 7th, which was like the intelligent thing to do. In the last race, he went and he was leading and battling at the front, and unfortunately his bike had a problem, so he actually pulled off and DNF'd the race, not from his own personal doings. So the likes of it's obviously closed it up for everybody.
I saw Bridewell come through from Alton Park. He came through and had a blinding weekend and closed it right up, but then he had a nightmare, didn't he?
And he crashed out of definitely one of the races, but it scored decent. Obviously everyone closed up because Jason and Taz were the 2 top, and the likes of Christian scored 50 odd points, I think, over the weekend, so closed right up on him. But yeah, it's all to play for the last round, and Brands Hatch this time of the year, the weather's going to probably
How many
be
can
dodgy.
Technically win it though?
But there's about 4, I would say, that are in a shout. But so we'll definitely Jason and Taz, and then Bridewell and Iden. So I would say them 4 are like all within contention.
Yeah.
It is mathematically possible for the likes of
But
Brooksy.
some would have to have a crash.
Yeah, and then there's Buchan and Glenn as well.
Right.
So I think Glenn's last in the showdown at the moment, isn't he? Him and Buchan are towards the back, I think. Brooksy, and then it's the top 4 are well within contention, though. There's not much in it at all. So, yeah, really exciting.
Any job changes? Because Bridewell's the only one who's signed at the moment, but he's back on with Ducati, isn't he? So
Same team, yeah.
Rumour mill has it that Mackenzie's going. He's moving.
World Superbikes.
World Superbikes. Speaking of Mackenzies,
I've heard that.
Taylor Mackenzie. Have I got the right Mackenzie here?
Yeah.
He's packing in.
Yeah, so he announced his retirement after probably his best performance ever.
31st to 1st.
31st to 1st in the dry.
That,
He did well not to take me out, actually. I was fully committed. So you go down Craner curves very, very fast, like probably 100 and down bottom of Craners, probably about 140, 150. Brake really hard, back 2 gears. And I tipped in on trail braking in, going towards the curb. And I sensed that someone was coming up the inside and then just nudged us up. So I sat up, ran right out, and he was not taking any prisoners whatsoever.
I've seen one rider do something like that before. Chrissy Rouse. I've seen
don't get us wrong. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. It was a fantastic move, but yeah, such a determined ride came through, and after such a tricky, not just a tricky season, but I think he pulled in from the first race out of like 25th because he was having problems with his bike. So to come from 31st on the grid and just absolutely steam through the pack and have a proper scrap with Billy for the win and take the win. Absolutely tremendous. And he's had a great, over the years. I think he's still got the lap record on the 125 around Oulton, and he's had some tremendous years racing. It's a shame to see the likes of.
How old is he?
What's that, sorry?
How old is he?
He's sort of late 20s, isn't he?
Yeah. But that doesn't even matter.
But he struggled to get on the grid this year, didn't he?
That's mad,
he was trying to get some money together to get on the grid this year. And...
Well, for whatever his reasons are, but he's been a fantastic competitor of mine. I've enjoyed watching him race, and I truly wish him all the best for like the rest of his whatever he decides to do.
I hope to see him in the commentary booth.
Yeah, I think
he's very good at that in his YouTube and everything like that. He's built for it. He's
got a real good YouTube channel, and I think
a bleach blonde smile.
I think he'd be he would make a good Uchiyo for Taz if he does go World Superbikes.
A what?
An Uchiyo. Rossi's best mate, like
fluffer.
that's turned into like an actual role, like an Uchiyo, isn't it? Yeah.
Like shut up.
It's like you basically an Uchiyo's main jobs are to carry your vise, pick your helmet up from your helmet guy.
He doesn't even do that anymore.
Does he not?
Because he got the AGV. You got the AGV guys to do that, and the Dainese guys to do all that.
What does Uchiyo do now?
I think he shows him his iPad and then hands him his gloves and his drink. But then he's also managing the VR46 team.
Is he?
The Moto2 team, yeah. So,
but he's not sitting around doing sweet FA.
No, he manages the Moto2 team as well. So during those sessions, he's always there doing that.
But yeah, so maybe that's what Taylor's got in mind for next year. I can think of a lot worse things to do: travel in the world, watch like with your brother in World Superbikes, and I'm sure he'll. Like you say, he's great on the commentary, and he's got loads of strings to his bow. And,
I hope he doesn't. Have you seen his Mad Marks?
Yeah.
I hope he do not. If you are listening to this, do not stop doing them. Please do not stop doing them. It'll be a crime against the sport if you don't do that.
And we did, I think, before the podcast started, we did mention about World Superbikes really heating up at the weekend over in Portimao. Jonathan Ray had one of the biggest crashes I've ever seen.
I've not even seen that yet.
The last corner of Portimao, you kind of brake over a crest, and then you go down into a dip, and then you get back on the throttle, come up over a hill, pull a wheelie and along onto the straight. It's extremely fast corner. And as you go in, as you sort of shut off and go over the crest, obviously the front goes light, and it's quite maybe bumpy. And anyway, took the front there, the bike dug in, and it was horrendous. And then he also crashed out of the
Superpole race.
Superpole race, just took the front into that was wet, wasn't it? Just went down,
I think it was down
in the wet, but then he went out and won the race too. Top Rack had a mechanical failure which caused him a crash. It looked like he just touched the front, but it was actually the front. I think it was the brake hugger or the
fender.
Front.
Full fender. The
front fender came off.
The little part that holds the fender onto the fork, so they can swivel, just failed. And
so as he tipped in, same place as Ray went down, and that went under the front wheel and lifted it and tucked. So it was like Top Rack hasn't actually made a mistake in a race all year.
That was a shame for him. But again, it closed up the championship.
Great, great for us spectators. Absolutely.
Who's your money on?
Top Rack.
Top Rack. I love how you don't even
I'll go-
think. I like
Yeah,
the way you work.
I
Like,
have
top
been
rack.
I have been following it all year, and yeah, just the way he's riding and the way he's got, shall we say, rattled Johnny and Scott and got them kind of on the back foot complaining about their style and stuff. I think he's the strongest at the minute.
It's that laughing, that laughing emoji thing you did. When you got grassed up for clipping the
the
green
green.
paint and all, you
Yeah.
just put 3 laughing emojis.
Whatever happens though, it doesn't matter who you support. It's great. It's great for World Superbikes having that needle, and it makes the racing so much more exciting and entertaining. I think, to be fair, I think MotoGP's missing that at the moment. I think that sort of one-on-one rivalry that everyone's waiting to see. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's, Quattararo's kind of running away with it, isn't he?
Yeah, there's a little bit of Neil between Jack and Mir.
Yeah, from
Miller and
the
Mir,
weekend, I've
just
seen that.
because that's kind of rolled on from Qatar when they had a couple of little comings together. But yeah, there's a
It'd be-
little
it'd be
bit
I
of
haven't
Neil
seen
there.
any
but-
of this.
It would
I've
be
literally
mint.
watched that Moto3 race. That's all I've watched.
We've talked about this before, but how good would it be if there was a big charity boxing match at the end of the year, and you got, like, say, Top Rack and Jonathan in, you got Mir and Miller in, and just, like, for people into racing and into boxing, it would be absolutely tremendous.
Huge
like.
charity thing, wouldn't it?
Everyone would pay a fortune to see
would,
it.
of
Like,
course they would.
Aye.
Yeah, suggest it.
I know.
Might happen.
Get your mate Rossi in.
But
Who would
Scott,
put
have you seen
Rossi?
Scott? He does a lot of boxing now, though, so I think he'd probably be my favourite.
Yeah, who would you put Scott against?
Me.
I don't know. I think.
Get me head kicked in.
I don't know. We'll have to find someone that he doesn't like in maybe MotoGP or whatever. I think Alicia Spargo's quite a similar sort of size.
What
isn't
about
he?
Andrew Irwin? That's the closest I've seen him getting really angry.
Oh,
Remember when he got
Scott
knocked
and
off?
Yeah, I think they're mates now, or they seem
Are
to
they?
be friendly.
Oh,
Yes, I think so.
Well, there we go.
But
Before we leave the World Superbike crack, how do you think Scott Wren's going to do on the BM?
Probably not as well as on the Ducati to start with.
Yeah.
But the thing about the BMW is they have got a big company behind it. They are doing a lot of work behind the scenes to improve it. I think what they've done in the first year of that M bike is done quite well, to be fair.
Yeah, we've got to mention Vandermark's win as well. I think that was long overdue and
Jesus.
for the team. Big.
I think Scott's a fast rider, so I think once he gets the handle of the bike, I think he'll be good. And then obviously with the, like I say, the factory behind him, and
I think I was listening to a podcast or something recently, or maybe Reddit, but they were saying that
Was it John Hopkins? By the chance?
the development is very much skewed towards what Sykesy wants from the bike, and I think he's got quite a unique riding style, and they've kind of hit a limitation with it. And I think the idea of getting Redden on the bike, Redden and Vandermark have more of a similar style, and maybe to go back and to go in their direction and see if they can get a little bit further, like be a bit more competitive that way. But time will tell. They've got class. They've got two, amazing riders, and they've a brilliant team. The funding from BMW, I'm sure, will be as competitive as anywhere. So there's no reason why it shouldn't work.
Has anyone heard of any new bikes coming out? There isn't, is there? There's no updates. No.
only in the 600 class, because they're bringing out the Aprilia and the Ducati, aren't they? I think they're changing the rules for the World Supersport, that you can have bigger capacity, like twin cylinder bikes, and
They're going to BSB rules, so the Triumphs that are in this year, I think Buckmaster's team are going to World Supersport, I think. And I'm not sure if anyone's running a Ducati in World Supersport, but Josh Day is going to be running one in British Supersport, so it'll be
the
interesting.
factory team are running one. That's what Nicola Balega's going to.
Ah, right.
Right.
Well, that'll be
The factory
interesting.
Ducati team are running the Supersport bike.
Jesus, that won't be cheap. One of them.
John Hackett used to be involved with World Supersport, I think years ago, didn't they, when they used to run the Ducatis?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Trick bits of kit.
Yeah, done some. Yeah.
So,
Got the brain working here.
what's left on the MotoGP calendar for you?
Back to Misano in 2 weeks' time.
Do you ever get bored of that? Like the fact that you're just going to Misano?
No, Misano's a great place.
I bet it is.
Yeah. Because we raced there before Austin, so we packed everything up at the end of the race. Flight cases, that all got shipped there. The truck stayed in Misano, so everything will get flown back there. We'll unpack and then load the trucks up there. But yeah, another race there. Then after there we have Portimao, and then Valencia, then done.
A little bit off topic, but what's been the strictest COVID country you've been to this year?
Qatar at the start of the year.
Was it?
Yeah, because we had to obviously, everywhere we go, we have to do the PCR 72 hours before we go, or no more than 72 hours before we go to the paddock. Once we've got the test result, we have to upload that to a platform, a MotoGP platform. So then that goes against our personal passes. So when you go to scan in, everything's kind of, it bleeps and lets you in. If it doesn't bleep, then you have to go to the office and
get executed.
Sort that out. But Qatar, we had to obviously do the test before we went. So we flew to Qatar. From the airport, or from the plane, we were kind of escorted off to a separate part of the airport, to a room where we got PCR tested again. Before, we couldn't mix with any of the passengers or anything in the airport, so we got PCR tested again. Then from there we got bussed, all our team got bussed straight to the hotel, straight into our rooms, and we had to stay there 24 hours in the room until we had the results back.
Right.
So yeah, we were kind of locked up in the room. We had to order room service up to the room. We couldn't leave. We were just stuck in there for 20. Some were locked in there because their results never came back. So some were in for 48 hours, even longer, like 3 days. Some of them.
Do you know, just in terms of PCR tests this year, how much do you think? Maybe not you personally spent on you, but how much does it cost for PCR tests just for you this year?
Halfway through the season, I think I put an invoice in for about £1,000.
Right. I thought it was more than that, to be
50
fair.
quid a pop.
80 something pounds a go.
80 quid a pop, yeah.
But at the start, when we first started going back, we had to have the blood test, the antigen test, so that cost a little bit more, just to see if we had the antibodies. And
have you got antibodies, by the way?
I should have, yeah. I've had the vaccine.
Okay. So. I had an antibody test last month, and I'd not known that I had COVID at any point, but I had really strong antibodies. It gives you a numerical value of, I think the units are U per milligrams, right. And if you have more than 0.8 of whatever the U is in your blood, then it means you've had COVID at some point. And then I had something like 1163, which is very strong immunity. But I didn't actually know I'd had COVID at any point. I didn't have smell for like 6 months last year, but at no point have I been ill. So
I actually had COVID earlier on in the year before I had the vaccines.
Right.
But like say, I had never felt ill. I just lost my taste and smell, which was a weird thing. Mm-hmm. Really weird. It took ages to come back. I don't think it's back now, but some things are distorted from what I remember.
To be fair, I wouldn't know. I've always had poor taste. So
but no, that was like halfway through the year. But because we only have to pay for them on the way out, you see. But then when we're at the circuit before we fly home, there's medical places there where we go and get the PCR test before we fly home, and they get charged straight to the team, so we don't pay for any of those.
Mm-hmm. Cool. If anyone wants an antibody test, by the way, you can just go. So like I bought mine from, it was actually a sexual health website, Better to Know, but you I think it was like 65 quid, and you
was typing in
you just I wasn't typing anything, right?
You was typing in chlamydia test.
You do a blood, like, so
just finger prick thing.
You get a little case, you fill a thing up with blood, send it off, and the next day it emails you and tells you if it obviously numerically tells you if you've had COVID or not and how strong. But the good thing about that is you can get them whenever you like, so you can monitor your
antibodies.
Your antibodies. So yeah, it's
we all had to do them when obviously we did Qatar in 2020, but then everything got cancelled after that. So then when we went back to racing in July, I think that's when they made us order the blood test, antibody test, and PCRs, and started from there.
So and games.
We're on the Patreon page, as I mentioned earlier. The people that listen will know what it's all about. But we've got a new thing where people can ask questions themselves. So I've just got one for this one. It's from your mate Sean from Isle of Man TT Picks, and so I'll just play it and then.
Amazing! I don't run him over every
Hi,
year.
Chrissy and Don from the Isle of Man.
It's windy.
Beautiful view from Guthrie's. Look like a bit of a hair gel wanker in these shades. Anyway, my question is, what's Don doing here in this picture? Should be definitely keeping his hands on the handlebars there. Thanks. Bye.
Did you recognise that picture?
I do.
It did look a bit windy up at the top of the mountain there.
Oh, it was a red flag. It was a red flag situation. And it was a couple of my mates were hanging off the barrier, so I just gave it up on the pegs. But the problem is the wind comes in sideways. I'm on full extension going, I'm going to write off my own BMW coming into the Craig at like 30 mile an hour. I went, oh God. Oh,
Here's a question.
Hey, Sean, thank you for all the photos, by the way. You know what I mean?
He's a great photographer.
He's unbelievable photographer.
I'd like to go back to the Isle of Man actually, and I may plan on going back next year just to spectate.
As well,
Because one of my best years there was actually 15, you know, when the Dunlop fiasco, and then we kind of finished after practice week. So I actually drove the truck at the time I was driving the race truck. I drove the truck back to the workshop and then flew back to the Isle of Man just to have a week spectating, and it was probably the best week I've ever had.
Have you still got your heavy good HGV license?
Yeah.
Hey, you're in high demand at the moment. You're going to get the old 30 quid an hour at the moment.
Thanks.
30 quid an hour?
That's what they're on.
Shut up, man.
Companies are paying massive bonuses just to sign up. I think they're paying people like $1,000 just to sign up as a bonus.
I
And
might
then
do
like
the sign up and then that's it.
25, 30 quid an hour, I think's the going rate at the moment. Like,
Shut up, man.
I want to do my license up.
I appreciate my time off too much at the minute. It's kind of few and far between.
I need money. I'm signing up.
Big into your cycling, aren't you?
Yeah.
I've actually seen you out and about when I've been.
Oh, yeah?
And you've come flying past and you're like, not when I'm cycling, like just when I'm out in the van. But you should meet up with Christian. Christian does like 100 mile every morning around here, so you've probably seen him out and about.
He's like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Last time I did 100 mile was in Austria.
Was it?
Yeah, because we had back-to-back races. So we were there in the week in between after the first weekend. So I just went out and I think I did about 102 miles or something up around the Austrian hills. It was lovely.
Athletes.
Very nice. Right, we've got a few Patreon questions. So we did have you lined up months ago to come on, and then ended up cancelling. So we've actually got questions from months ago and ones recently. I'll just get the recent ones up first. In fact, I think that was the ones from this one here. So the first one is from Tony Rolls. What are your thoughts on the Onku move crash? Does the punishment fit the crime? We discussed that earlier. Rossi's just came out actually and totally agreed with the penalty. I think
the punishment fits the crime because it's not just that incident, but it's been building up over several different races that sketchy moves have been made, and not a great deal has been made of them, so it's almost kind of like built up a point system, and you've like, well, that was pretty big, you know. So I think there needs to be more penalties like that for those kind of moves, and maybe make people think,
especially moves like that, because like that actually happened to my dad. You know, he obliterated his right kneecap and his left foot came off the bottom, went to the side, fully dislocated, and he was bedbound for a canny while. Just Alton Park, turn 1, going to I call it turn 2. You know when you go down the hill
over the crest,
over the crest there, same thing again. Just went,
right
on the right, like on the right hand side. Went like my dad was overtaking him. You know what I mean? And he just swerved, bang.
But if you can
Front
find
went in the arc.
if you can find that footage that's been tweeted recently off back of Massia's bike, and you see Alcoba come round the outside of someone and just swerve, like he's like, there's no need to do that.
I tell you what's dangerous. Do you know?
It is.
Have you seen on the last laps? They do it more in the junior supersport class, but they get onto the straight and then everyone just goes left, right, swerving, like aggressively swerving, and you just to stop people slipstreaming, but it's bloody dangerous. Like,
how can you? You can't be seeing left and right as well as in front of you. It's just...
No, terrifying. We've got one from Ryan Garside. Who would win in a fight, John McPhee or Jeremy Alcoba?
I don't know. I think John's got a little bit of fight in him. But I think Alcoba's got the height advantage and the reach, maybe.
That's one for our charity boxing.
Yeah, we'll set it up.
Same from Ryan Garside. What do you think should be done or changed within the qualifying process in Moto3 to stop all this daft follow the leader behaviour? And what's your thoughts on the track limits issue that often ruins racing? First of all, the qualifying thing.
The qualifying, I'd like to see a super pole format brought in, and I think that would solve all of that because you wouldn't have any chance to, but I think it's just time restraints and time limits that they can't do that.
I tell you what was mega a few years ago. Can you remember when BSB did that thing where the top 6, they did the shootout and the one rider at a time went out and the rider could pick a theme tune, so the music, and you got one lap, so you basically did qualifying up to get to the top 6 and then the top 6 went through and got one lap, but obviously everyone's glued to it, and the pressure to do that, you get go out and we'll do a warm-up lap. So obviously you start a flying lap, and then like your theme tunes on, and I thought that was great. But obviously that would stop the.
I remember back in the World Superbike days when they did the Super Pole, and it was like really good.
I tell you what,
I thought it was really really fun.
They did that round the Ulster. Now the Ulster Grand Prix is a long lap, so you can imagine everyone standing there going,
"Oh my!"
A lot of waiting time.
Here we come. Bruce Anstey absolutely annihilated everyone.
Yeah,
Bruce Anstey is just.
It would take away the need for slipstream. It would take away
Yep.
that kind of gaining half a second just because you sat behind someone rather than your sheer kind of ability and talent. And it'd put your faster guys who were fast on one lap on their own to the top.
I tell you what would be good. What if you did? So if they did a shootout for the top 10, say, and then the top 10 go out in like 10-second intervals, and you get one flying lap, so there's no slipstream advantage.
The problem is at the minute, every session is a qualifying session, because from the minute you go out in FP1, that places you in the top 14 to go through to Q2. So everyone's putting a tyre at the end, trying to go fast and doing all the slipstream stuff. So from the very first day, I mean, for me, even the first 2 sessions should be just count towards nothing, just purely set up, and then maybe go from FP3 going through to, but every session at the minute counts towards Q2.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what the track limits thing?
I agree with the track limits as in a safety issue where there should be some green areas. So where it's kind of fast enough that if you hit the green, then you're going to crash. So if there's green tarmac, it makes it safer so you don't crash, so you penalise them. But like with the top rack incident, where the green was there, didn't need to be green. So for me, that was wrong.
And what about...
There are areas of the track that are painted green that they have no reason to be painted green. It should just be tarmac and grass, because you're not going to go there anyway.
Like the one at the French Magny-Cours one, yeah.
That green there didn't need to be there.
What about...
Because he gained no advantage from that.
Exactly.
He lost no advantage. He gained no advantage, lost nothing. But then you see at the very next corner, Johnny passed him anyway.
What about the likes of...
I think it should personally be like Operation. You know when you touch the metal sides? Imagine that.
Do you know Austria term? Like, there's a lot of times where you kind of, or they have them rules where you can go on the green like 5 times within the race and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We had
I think you get 3 limit warnings and then you do a long lap, don't you?
Yeah.
But if it's on the last lap, there's no warning. It's just drop a place.
Yeah, we had a sort of quite a passionate discussion about this a few weeks ago.
Hold on, it wasn't we.
Yeah,
there was no we whatsoever.
You just sat there taking it.
I sat there, put my feet up, went, "Go on, Chris." I was just staring at the top.
I was just saying, like, if it just causes so many issues and potential problems that you're better off having something like AstroTurf or like gridded something with less grip than tarmac, so that there's like a natural disadvantage to going on it, and therefore if you do go on it, you're losing time because of it's not unsafe, but it's you're losing time naturally, so there's no need for because all the penalties and stuff does, to me, I think it does spoil it.
It is spoiling it, but then people are taking advantage of it, so
it's a sport of taking advantage, isn't it?
My biggest problem is where some of the green is situated that doesn't need to be there.
Yes.
Like that one there for Top Rack, perfect example, didn't need to be there and it lost him the race. So.
Yeah.
It's pointless.
This is a good question from Mark Jackson. It's gone from perfectly dry to full rain. We know the tyres have to be swapped, but what are the changes to dampen, preload, spring rate, linkage, ride height, or should you make? So, like, say you're in the box with John, it starts raining. What changes from a dry set to a wet set?
Start with the front end, obviously the tyre, but we'll change the fork springs. So if we were running maybe 7.5, we'd go 5.5. Back off the compression, back off the rebound, back off the preload, just so you get a little bit more feel. We changed the front wheel spindle to a soft one, so it gives it a little bit more kind of feeling on the front end as well, because we have a softer metal one, and the rear spindle, they're both softer. There's an engine frame plate, like a brace in front of the engine. We just disconnect that, so the chassis itself isn't so rigid as well, so that stops it kind of being so harsh. And then the rear shock, we have another wet shock set up, so we take that out, put another one in, and usually change a tooth on the gearing just to help it rev a little bit more, because obviously naturally you're not coming out the corners as fast. So
would you leave the internal gearing usually the same?
We just do like a tooth on the back just to help it pick up a little bit quicker.
That's interesting. I never knew about the spindle or the frame braces.
So HRC make different like strength spindles, so we put a soft one in for the weight.
Cool, isn't it? Did you know about that?
No.
There you go. Get some machined up.
There you go. Get it done, but I get it done. I tell you what, I did the BMW course in Munich
Yeah.
You know, like when the Gen 3 came out, I went to that course, and I tell you what, they had an Italian lad running it. Oh my God, he had me in tears. He had there was a code on the BMWs called Error 66. You mechanics
Is
might
that
have heard
anything
of
to
it.
do with Sykesy?
Now, possibly.
66.
Yeah. So he had this thing called Error 66. This is before he was on it, Error 66. Now, basically, what the mechanics used to go, if a rider came in and whinged, they used to go, oh, it's an Error 66, meaning it's all in the rider's head.
Yeah.
And they would go, right, we've done this, we've done that. When they've actually done sweet FA, they've done absolutely nothing. They've gone out and gone like a second quicker. And they've come in and gone, don't change the bike. And all the mechanics are going, dickhead. Exactly, you know what I mean? So,
we didn't.
now you're laughing because have you done that?
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah. I think most people will agree that the racing thing is, the majority of it's a psychological thing. The confidence you have, and obviously the confidence comes from having a feeling in the bike. But in 19, when John was winning a few races and we were challenging at the start of at the front of the races, and we were challenging for the championship, we barely changed the bike at all. You know, from FP1 to FP2, we might change a half a spring rate or a little click here and there, but yeah, generally we didn't change a lot because he was riding on that much confidence. He could just ride the bike anyway. So yeah.
Got some questions from like months ago. Dave Neal actually asked about from World Championship, who's the favourite rider you've ever worked with, and who's your least favourite? Who did you say was your favourite again?
From Grand Prix?
Or just World Championship, yeah.
Sam
Lowe's. Oh, we haven't really discussed the Moto2 days.
No, because it was quite brief. It was only that 1 year, that one season. But Sam, he gave us a lot of work to do. But his determination, his effort, his commitment, everything is 100%. You cannot argue with it. You could never really be angry at him or upset because he always gave everything. He left everything out on the track, no matter what the outcome, no matter what the result. And then afterwards he'd take you for a beer or a steak. You know what I mean? He's just a great guy. And I still speak to him a lot now in the paddock. We're actually in the box next door in Austin. So yeah, spend a lot of time talking with Sam, and yeah, it's great.
Good question from I just read one from Tony Rules there, but there it is there. Any ideas on how they make the Leopard noticeably quicker down the straight? I don't watch Moto3 enough, but are they the fastest bikes?
Generally, yeah, they have been for a long time. Yeah.
Any ideas?
We have a lot of theories.
Anything you can share on? Anything you can share?
We all have a lot of theories. I've been looking at their bikes a lot this year. They engineer a lot of things themselves, which, to be fair to them, is on their behalf. That's good, because if you look, you basically, when we get a bike at the start of the year, it comes in loads of little plastic jiffy bags, little bolts, nuts, bolts in. You build it up from a chassis, from a wooden box full of bits, and that's what you get. That's the Honda parts stuff, and that's what you build. But they design and build all their own triple clamps, front subframe, even down to their rear sprocket. They don't use a sprocket and a carrier. They have them machined all in one. So they've got a massive kind of like weight saving. So their bikes are right on the limit of weight, you know. So that's one area that they kind of improve a bike over everyone else, is they do things like this, their own engineering.
It's a little bit like, you know, in World Super Sport, all the bikes seem so similar, and then the Evan Bros, Yamahas just seem to be a step ahead of everything. Yeah. And it's
another theory is that they cheat with the ECU.
Really?
That's another theory. Yeah.
Would that be possible in Moto3?
Anything's possible. Yeah. I mean, everyone gets a standard Dell'Orto ECU, but if you've got someone clever enough that can kind of hack into the different layers of stuff and change stuff, then
is the scrutiny at Moto? I presume at World Championship the scrutineers are like top people, and like no.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Are they not?
Yeah, you think.
I mean, like for example, is your bike getting stripped? Does it get stripped much?
Last year, because of COVID, the specified Dell'Orto engineer that used to come and download every weekend, he couldn't go. They had minimum staff there, so people that weren't really essential, as you like, they weren't there. So they just had one of the Dorna not even technical guys, but just one of the Dorna guys just downloading, and 9 times out of 10 they'd struggle to even download the data, you know what I mean, let alone read it. So there's one thing. This year after Austin, because of like another example because of what happened in the race. It was basically the bikes went under the podium. They did all that. The Delauto guy came and downloaded it and boom, take your bike away. So there was no checks. Normally they do fuel, weight, all that.
The whole 9 yards.
They check your fuel, do a sample of that, do weight. Every now and again they might take an oil sample, but I've never, in my 3 years of Moto3, never had an oil sample taken.
What?
The other side of the box, you have to run a specific oil. Everyone has to run the same.
Because oil would drag in the engine and everything like that. Little
so everyone gets given liquid moly oil, which is a sponsor of the series. So everyone,
controlled series.
Yeah, so everyone has to use the controlled oil, basically. And once on the other side of the box, they had to strip a gearbox out, but they basically just check the ratio. So they just sit there and count the teeth, because you have to, at the start of the year, you have to say, these are my 2 ratios for first, 2 for second, etc. Because you have a number of ratios that you can choose at the start of the year. This is what we'll run. So you get a plan of 2 different ratios for each gear.
It's a big decision at the beginning of the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Massive,
massive,
that's a crucial.
So same in British Superbikes, but they only get 1 gearbox. So you have to submit your gearbox before, I think it's before the first round, or at round 1, and then basically you've got that for the rest of the year. Because the only time I've been in Superbikes, I did 3 rounds, I think, for Halsall on the Suzuki like years ago, and our they didn't. I don't think they tested earlier in the season, or anyway, the gearbox they ended up going with had like a really, really short first and second, I think, and it just wanted to wheelie so much, and like all the mechanics were saying we really wanted to put a longer second gear in, but because they'd submitted the gearbox at the first round, they were stuck with it for the season. We just had the bike wheeling all the time, and it was like really different. They were trying to take power out of the front, like with the mapping, to try and make it keep the front end down, but it was all to do with the gearbox ratio.
I know Mark wanted to, at the end of last year, he asked about if we could change our gearbox plan for this year, but there was kind of like a gentleman's agreement between the factories, Honda, KTM, Gas, all that there wouldn't be any development or changes. So he wanted to actually change the gear ratio plan, but wasn't allowed. Everyone had to stick with what they had. So
for
this year, just to kind of minimalise kind of upgrades and money spent.
They did the same thing in Formula 1, I think, as well, and it was to stop people working through the lockdowns, and because the countries had different regulations on when it would have been unfair if like one factory was fully at work and the rest weren't. Exactly. Last question for today, we had Alex Hunt. Sorry to see the Moto3 team folding for next year.
So am I.
Yeah, if you could work with a MotoGP factory team, any team in the paddock, which would you pick and why?
Suzuki.
Right.
There was no hesitation whatsoever there.
No, I've always been a big Suzuki fan, and I like like you said earlier, they're kind of underdog, although they're world champions now. It's a lot smaller factory than the Honda or Yamaha. But I've always loved the Suzuki, and I think the team's a great team. It's very professional. It just stands out. Other than that, Red Bull, the KTM team, they'd be a good team. Yamaha, because I know a few people in the Yamaha team, so that'd be a good team to work for. So those 3, and then obviously Ducati's probably a no-go because I'm not Italian. So
is that fully Italian, that team?
Pretty much fully Italian, yeah.
Some of the Italian?
No.
Is Aprilia the same?
Aprilia is, but I know some of the guys from the World Superbike days. 2 of the guys that work there now on Maverick side, I work with in the Aprilia World Superbike. So that wouldn't be so much of a no-go, but yeah, they generally are.
Obviously, they've got the first podium at Silverstone with Alish, but their bike seems to be getting pretty strong now.
Yeah, it's getting good now. Yeah, I think when Maverick gets his feet, he'll be pretty fast on that. But those 3 mainly. Honda would be obviously Honda's a great team to work for. HRC, and then like your LCRs. I know a couple of guys in there. They're good guys.
We'll
keep trying. We'll keep sending the CV out and applying.
Now that you've been on here, man, they'll be braying down the door.
Absolutely.
They'll be braying down the door.
So plan are you staying in the northeast tonight and hitting the road first thing in the morning, or?
No, just going to head over tonight. But I'll tell you what, before I forget, we have a huge fan of the show called William Grant. He always tags us in things. And he got you a present, mate. He got you a
That's what this
present
is.
with that. That's what this is. Nothing sinister or evil there. So he got you that. He got me a chainsaw key ring. So fair enough, mate. So I have no idea what this is.
So we've got a mug.
Oh, you're a mug, all right.
It's Chrissy, world's best teacher. So very nice.
Right, there we are.
I'll take that into work with us. So
I'll leave that in the staff room. They'll love that.
Yeah, they will. Won't they? Be like, what's going on here? What's going on here? So there you go.
Yeah, I think it's Will Grant. Did you say?
Will Grant, and also
Thank you very much, Will.
I'm trying to think. I totally bollocksed up on the last one because I never mentioned him. Angus Green from Stocksfield. He said, "I would like to be known as the Guru." I'm going to call him a bellend for suggesting his name's the Guru. So Angus Green, you got your shout out there.
What does he have to back it up, though, being a guru?
But I have no idea, but he's a mint lad. He's got good crack. And it was when you hear another Geordie accent going through the spa paddock, you're like, oh, thank God I'm not alone. There you can. So thank you very much, Angus.
Are you coming down to Brands for the last round?
When's that then?
So not this weekend, next weekend.
I'm at Cadwell.
Is that CRMC?
No, that's all done and dusted. So William Grant, he was there at the last round at Croft there, so he does that championship as well. But no, that's all wrapped up for the year.
Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, didn't lose a single race, and successfully I've broken every lap record this year.
Very
so
good.
every round I've gone to, I've broke the lap record, and Air Cooled 500 champion, British 350 champion, and ACU championship.
Hey,
So,
congratulations. Do you know much about the CRMC?
The world stage next, then.
naturally, yeah, I'm going to slipstream you, son. There you go. Give him a job. I'll be there. Don't you worry.
So what's that, sorry?
This CRMC, it's the classic race and British Championship.
They're expensive bikes going around with a bunch of hooligans on it.
Yeah.
As simple as that. So it's like, no, it's absolutely cracking club. But no, that's the end of that for the year, which is brilliant. So it was a Mingen Croft mind, absolutely Mingen Croft, but obviously local advantage that we're used to the rain, Chrissy. So I tell you what, though, it psychologically boiled me, man, because I watched your Stock 1000 race, and then obviously you took the front. My last call went out, so I'm sitting on the grid on this 60 grand bike going, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It was mint crack, man. But no, so for the Davies team and all their sponsors, Belgrave, the Hafe lads, everyone, no, they're over the moon.
So
Absolutely.
we've got you're racing over in Belgium this weekend.
Yes.
Following weekend is the last BSB, so looking forward to that down at Brands Hatch. You're at Cadwell that
And
weekend.
that's the last round for the Thundersport Championship as well. So
And then I've actually booked to learn to skydive on the following Thursday, so I do my ground school. It's not far from here actually,
yeah.
so yeah.
this might be one of the last episodes.
So I've got the ground
One of the
school
very last
Thursday, and I
ones.
think if the weather's good, you can maybe jump the same day, and if not, we'll try and jump the next day. So well excited for that. And then I've just booked in for the following Sunday. I've just booked to do my first ever go-kart race. So I'm
Shut up, man.
no, Mark, me mate from work, his lad races, and they've kindly let us given us or loaned us their kart for the first round of the winter series at Teesside. So I'm racing
mint.
a pro kart I think it's the pro kart class, but I'm in like the novice sort of subcategory.
Your weapon of the go-karts.
So I'm well excited for that. Proper looking forward to it. You get there in the morning and you get weighed up because there's a minimum weight. I'm probably gonna have to put about 15 kilo of lead in the cart, and then
Shut up, man.
qualifying and heats and then races. So I am proper buzzing for that. It'll be mint. And I
Is
think
it a shifter cart or just
it's
auto but petrol?
You've lost all his respect now.
yeah, I think so. A twin engine.
Did you see that respect Bear had for you for all of 2 seconds? Is it a shift? No, you're a shite bag.
do a bit of karting, like.
No, not really. Only when we go away and there's a kart track somewhere. Like Portimao, we all have a go there. And even in Silverstone, we go to the Milton Keynes one there, which is the outdoor kind of.
Have you been at the ones around here, like
routes.
Warden Law, Teesside?
I've been Teesside, yeah. When I worked with Sean, we'd have like a Christmas party there and
Yeah.
go out and do that at night time.
Do you know Lee Mentier?
Yeah.
His daughter's
Yeah,
banging
she's
to the.
pretty good, yeah.
She's doing brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
really good. Does Lee still work? Not for
No.
sure. Not no.
I'd like to get some tips on how to be fast in a car, because I'm always seem to be when we race always at the back. I don't know if it's a weight thing or just a talent thing.
Well, next time we do
it's
a
something
ride.
to do with that gearbox, but I know a guy who's gonna have a win.
Next time we do a arrive and drive, I'll invite you along and we'll have a
That'd be
big
awesome.
crack.
Definitely.
And we'll always give this opportunity at the end of the podcast for people to promote like merchandise or whatever. But I'm taking that
He's after a job MotoGP.
so
So
if there's any GP teams out there that need
Yeah, if
mechanics
there's
for next year,
some of the factory teams, yeah, that'd be awesome.
mega.
Well,
And,
factory price.
yeah, brilliant. And if people want to sort of get in touch with you or whatever, is Instagram the best place, or
Twitter, Instagram, yeah,
Twitter?
yeah.
It's Stephen D Bradley, is
Yeah.
it? All one thing on Twitter.
Stephen.d.bradley.
There we go. And
Spread the word, people.
and it's
Spread the
definitely
word.
not Stephen Bear.
No.
Don't check his Twitter.
Don't look at
There's some interesting things on that one.
I'm gonna have to tell Grace about that teddy bear. You know, with the
Oh yeah, Keith Lemon.
I'm gonna have to get. She's gonna have to put that in at some point. It'll be
Oh,
really
It's
right.
appropriate, yeah. I think it's
Of course
quite,
it is.
I think
It's chasing
quite
the race.
X-rated, I think.
It is.
Of course it is. It's outstanding.
Have you ever seen that one when he's speaking to
Kelly Brook or someone like that.
No, it's Osborne thingy.
Sharon Kelly.
It's the son, I think, or the
yeah.
daughter. I think it might be Kelly.
Oh,
No, I think
Kelly
it is
Osbourne,
Kelly.
yeah.
It is
and
Kelly Osbourne.
he's talking about what he would like to do.
Say on, that's bear, right?
Yeah, check it out on YouTube. But yeah,
Fantastic.
before we go, huge thank you to our patrons and of course to our sponsor Colchester Kawasaki, and we'll be back next week with another guest. So
Hopefully.
if the skydiving goes well. So take
From me and Splat, it's been good.
take care, and thanks very much for your time coming
No
on the
worries.
show. Really appreciate it,
Pleasure.
and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
See you in a
Cheers.
bit.
See you in a bit.
Click, buy, deliver with remote purchasing from the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.